Good evening and welcome to the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials. This is the APAC Group B. My name is Elfish Guy, and I'll be your host for today. Alongside me, of course, we do have a couple of experts in their respective regions. Let's go with that. We've got Abstract from Singapore, Opara from New Zealand. Of course, I'm here from Australia. So we've got all three regions covered, but it's going to be a big day of Overwatch, guys. 3 regions and lots of good games to take a look at.
Well, of course, today we have quite some money on the line, and I'm super stoked to see how each team and each players would want to come in, or rather come out and show their abilities to make sure that they'll be, moving on to the next part, which is, of course, the tryouts of Overwatch, Overwatch Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. These are going to be some phenomenal games that we've got coming through. Probably some big plays, and hopefully we've got a lot of teams that are looking like they're going to come through quite well to win the finals. But hopefully we see these underdog teams try and bring it to them.
Yeah, look, I mean, at least in some cases, we've got some rematches as well to take a look at. But anyway, that's a discussion that we have to get into as we, go a little bit deeper into these matches. For now, let's take a bit more of an overarching look at how things are shaping up here in the Overwatch World Cup, where we're at in that timeline. Obviously, it's February, so we're still here with the trials, and this is basically an opportunity for the committees to scout their teams, for the players to put their best foot forward and try to make their way into those World Cup teams. All of the teams, or rather all the committees, have been announced, so everyone should be well aware of who's deciding what when it does come to those Overwatch World Cup teams. But yeah, still a long way to go before we do get to the World Cup itself. But yeah, tonight's the night that I think a lot of teams are going to be looking to try to start to solidify their positions and such like that. But look, another thing that we did, just briefly touch on there, Abstract, was the prize pool. Do have to touch on that tonight as well. $2,000 for the winning team of each respective region, which means $6,000 over the course of the night. We've got New Zealand, Australia, and Singapore to take a look at. So, a little bit of cash money on top of the, potential Overwatch World Cup selection. Now, I will say, we're talking a lot about Overwatch World Cup selection. This doesn't guarantee a position in the Overwatch World Cup squad for any of these players. So that's one important thing that we do have to sort of just touch on there, Abstract. It's, I guess, really about showing what you can do, not necessarily saying, oh, yeah, we are the World Cup team.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a difficult spot for a lot of these players, because when it comes down to individual plays, you definitely want to show off, let the committee know how you play as an individual. But in the meantime, you also want to play with a lot of teamwork with the current team that you are at right now, so that number one, you get the $2,000, and number two, you get the guaranteed slot to go for the tryouts. Not necessarily straight to the Overwatch World Cup, but the tryouts itself is definitely going to be one hell of a tryout, if you'd like to say it.
Indeed. All right. Well, we should take a look at the schedule for tonight as well before we get too deep into the discussions. As we mentioned, we've got 3 regions tonight. We're kicking things off with New Zealand. Don't want to keep those Kiwis up too late. It is already 8 o'clock over there in New Zealand. So that game will be kicking off fairly shortly. South Auckland Drillers and Winton Overwatch are going to be taking on one another. And then we'll move on to the Australian trials, which is Siebes and Yena, and then on to Singapore to close the day out. So we've got some pretty good games. I think looking at some of those on paper, I'm seeing some fairly one-sided potential matches there, Opara. I think you sort of touched on that a little bit earlier. And if we were to dive into New Zealand, obviously that's your home region and the region that we're going to be taking a look at first. How do you see this one starting to shape up?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone can sort of tell the favorites are going to be South Auckland Drillers. However, Winton Overwatch, this is a grudge match. They got taken out in the first round by South Auckland Drillers, got sent to the lower bracket. So they're back for a little bit of a revenge tour here. They've managed to go through the whole lower bracket to get back here to take on South Auckland Drillers again. And the fact that they've had the chance to A, play against this team before, and B, have so much experience now going through that lower bracket, we might see a whole new team from the start.
I mean, that is definitely something to touch on, isn't it, Abstract? But I think for now, let's jump into a bit of a deeper discussion around these teams and find out who is on what team. Now, South Auckland Drillers, Opara said probably the favourites coming into this one. Do you want to break down why that might be for me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, starting off on that tank, we've got JCap. JCap is just phenomenal player all round here. So when you've got a really good tank to carry the team, that can be huge. Then we have Color Hex and Finn, both phenomenal DPS in their respective fields, especially Color Hex. I mean, having that Overwatch League experience playing for Boston Uprising, I think that's going to come through huge. And then Sector and Signed as well. They should all be really phenomenal players to help them out.
Yeah, a lot of experience on that roster, Abstract. I think it's going to be a tough one to go up against. We'll take a look at Winton Overwatch as well and see who's rolling out on that side of the field. Now, I think when you look at this team, you know, a little bit less experience is definitely the most notable factor there.
Yep. So the thing about the Winton Overwatch is that they are, of course, going up against South Auckland Drillers, where we know exactly who South Auckland Drillers are. While Winton Overwatch, they are relatively inexperienced when it comes down to the competitive side of things. So we don't specifically know exactly how they play, what role they play as well. But one thing that would really work out for them is probably the fact that they faced South Auckland Drillers once before, and they should be able to come up with some kind of a strategy to really work with South Auckland Drillers and learn from what they have or whatever mistakes that they have made before.
Yeah, well, look, I know at least in the case of Ons, he's been around the block a little bit, so keeping an eye on him to have a good day today. But yeah, look, Opara, I think it is something that we have to consider, the fact that these teams have played against each other already in the trials. It was a 2-0 to South Auckland Drillers, so I don't know if there's too much that you can really read from that. Like it's over pretty quickly, right? When you get 2-0'd in a game of Overwatch, there's not a whole lot to sort of play with. So look, while we think about that, let's go and have a look at the vetoes and see what map we're going to be starting off on tonight. And Antarctica Peninsula will be map number 1. So Control, as usual, you know, you should be pretty standard. Should be pretty well aware of how this goes if you're an Overwatch fan, and I imagine if you're watching this broadcast, you probably know how it all sort of shapes up. But yeah, look, are you feeling that there is maybe a potential for an upset here, Opara? Do you think that loss is going to give them something to learn from, or are you kind of on the South Auckland Drillers hype train?
I mean, it's so easy to just go onto that South Auckland Drillers hype train there. But to be honest, I think for Winton Overwatch, this map might be quite good. It's a brand new map. There hasn't been much playtime for either team. So we're still kind of figuring out everything about Antarctic Peninsula. So just with the fact that there's this level of unknown, I think that level of unknown could come into Winton Overwatch's favor, especially if they go by the name Winton Overwatch and play Winston a lot. There's a lot of high ground on this map. They could get a lot of value out of it.
Sure. I mean, Abstract, have you got any 2 cents to throw in here? I mean, what are the keys to success tonight for Winton Overwatch, right? Is it just getting off to a good start, riding that momentum, something like that? Because, you know, you look at it pound for pound, the individuals definitely on the side of South Auckland Drillers have got that experience and that pedigree.
I think the name of the game right here for our friends here is really comes down to the fact if whether they're able to learn from their past mistakes. But looking at Antarctica right now, what they really want to do, especially since the current meta is not really quite shaped yet, it's still relatively rocky. We don't really know if whether the dive comp, the death ball comps, all this kind of stuff, which one is the best. But understandably, I would still prefer, or rather, I would still think that dive is probably going to be the biggest thing. But Antarctica, there could still be a chance that we'll be able to see something like Sigma, Baptist, Zenyatta, and Widow being played out.
All right, well, I guess it's time for us to find out as we jump into map number 1 of the New Zealand Trials Grand Finals. It will be South Auckland Drillers up against Winton Overwatch. I really can't get over that name. But we'll start things off on Control as usual, and hopefully we get a good game out of this one, and maybe not something like a 3-0. I should mention this is a best of 4, so we do get at least the 1 extra map over what we've been seeing in the ED bracket so far. But look, I suppose let's just find out.
Yeah, look at that beautiful Aurora Borealis as well. Just such a sight to see on this map, and straight away, interesting. We're seeing Color Hex go on Symmetra. Usually we do see Color Hex on something like a Widowmaker, some kind of sniper. It could just be to get out of the doorway, but if they run it, that could be a bit of fun to watch.
I assume it's really just for that portal straight out the doorway. I don't expect he'll be looking to run that any deeper into this game. And
here we go, straight out the door. Yeah, onto the Tracer there as they rush in.
Yeah, indeed. We've got the Doomfist out here for JCap as well. So it looks like fairly standard stuff on the side of South Auckland Drillers. We like to have the Lucio in the mix as well, just to give them a bit of that extra mobility. A little bit of a different kind of approach, actually, from Winton Overwatch. Yeah, but we'll see how that plays out as that first fight starts to ensue.
Yeah, we do see Ons try to get in onto JCap there, but now with Signed having that high ground advantage, they might be able to get a couple of good picks. You don't want to get taken out by this Mei shot, however. Mei pumping out those icicles right here. Ons getting in deep, and currently it looks like they are managing to push back South Auckland Drillers a little bit. They want to take this point presence, and Natty opening up by taking out Signed. That's huge right here. If they can confirm a couple more picks, they should be able to get the first cap.
Well, the issue was that Signed actually managed to find himself an opening pick before he went down as well. The numbers are starting to falter for Winton Overwatch. I mean, they were doing a good job at the start of that fight. I thought Winton Overwatch, you know, they were sort of winning that poke war. They were forcing South Auckland Drillers back a little bit away from the point, but they did give up the high ground. Signed just given it a little bit too much room to work with on the, you know, and inevitably losing picks here and there, and then that eventual waterfall comes into play, and Winton Overwatch, they lose the point.
Yeah, we're going to see another attempt at a push-in up onto the high ground here. Ramatra's shield is so good at blocking off some of those shots. The Blizzard is out, but the team not quite there to back it up because Color Hex is just harassing them in the background. That dive strategy of Doom and Tracer just going in behind you, completely causing chaos right now for Winton Overwatch. And they're kind of asking, what do we do here? Taking out Signs, that could be a good start. Once again, they just need to follow through and get a couple more. Trying to focus down some of those supports. But Kiriko just dodging it. There we go. Natty confirming that kill there. Good pick for Winton Overwatch. They just need a couple more. They should be able to take this, but they're running around everywhere. Color Hex and JCap putting in so much work. Out comes the sound barrier even. They do not want to give this point up, and it is sort of working to South Auckland's favor. Finally, the flip goes to Winton Overwatch, and now they will be gaining percentage in this chaotic fight.
Yeah, a lot of trickle onto that point does give South Auckland Drillers a fairly hefty chunk of control, and I think the issue here for Winton Overwatch is that when they're getting these picks, when they're getting these openings, they're kind of getting skill gapped a little bit by the individuals on South Auckland Drillers, right? Color Hex in that fight, JCap, they're both able to bring back a pick from a deficit, a numbers deficit situation. When you've got a 3-on-5, you really can't be allowing that to fall back to a 3-on-3 just because, you know, you've got a Tracer and a Doomfist running around. So at that point, South Auckland Drillers, individuals showing up.
Ons going in deep there and wanting to pop that Annihilation to just try and take everyone out. But unfortunately, the speed coming through with Finn on Lucio, making them get away from their Ramatra ult. So that is a bit devastating for Ons right there. Now getting aggressive onto Sign. Sector went down as well. Shiloh getting a good couple of picks here. Natty just recouping, regathering, and they just want to finish these last couple of shots off. Doom gonna stall it out, getting the 99%, and now you can just, yeah, take that death.
Well, they're going to have to work pretty hard to win this one from here still, Winton Overwatch. I mean, they do have the Blizzard to play with for the next fight, so there is that, and it's a fairly uncontested ultimate. Nothing really to speak to for South Auckland Drillers, but Winton Overwatch, they're going to have to be really clean here. They can't be affording to drop a pick and such like that early on in the fight. Really, really clean ult economy rotations as well from them. Going to be required as South Auckland Drillers, they're in for another attempt.
Out comes that Blizzard, but did it just get cancelled? I don't see it going off, and I heard a punch come through by JCap there. A huge shutdown. Shiloh, however, confirming a good kill with the Deadeye, just trying to zone everyone out. Meteor Strike just to stay alive for JCap, but it won't last long as that fight is done and dusted.
Yeah, not too bad actually. Good stuff from Shiloh in particular in that fight. Cleaning things up with the ultimate and then following suit. So sharp stuff. But I think South Auckland Drillers, they were expecting to lose that fight. They would have known coming into that one that they were at the ult deficit. Now they've been given the opportunity to build their ultis up, and they're going to roll in with basically 4 available.
Yeah, look at this, just rushing on, using the new passive for any hero, changing to Reinhardt so that they keep a little bit of ult percentage. The Pulse Bomb has taken out Ons, and JCap now takes out Natty there. So this is looking like all South Auckland on the board at the moment. Shiloh gonna have to try come up big. We've got Matt just stalling on the point, and no one's really focusing them down at the moment. Kiriko has so much survivability, and with that Kitsune rush, they did manage to survive a little bit longer with the extra speed. Adamite now taken down, no more support, so it is going to come down to Ons on this Wrecking Ball, as well as Shiloh still trying to just stall out, trying to get a little bit more damage. Signed, taking out Natty, and Chex taking out Shiloh. That is going to be first round going to South Auckland Drillers.
Yeah, they played that one really well. They knew even though they were losing control at that point, they weren't in control of it, and that Scoreboard was ticking up for Winton Overwatch. They were really just focusing in on that one big fight. They were able to sacrifice 1 or 2 fights. They knew they were playing the long game. At 99-99, we can win that fight because we're going to have the ult economy to play with. Whereas Winton Overwatch, I mean, they had to keep investing everything that they had every single fight because a loss is a loss. Whereas for South Auckland Drillers, they just bide their time and wait for the perfect moment to strike and basically deathball over the top of Winton Overwatch. And so 1-0, as you say, South Auckland Drillers off to a decent start. But what I will say is I think Winton Overwatch did actually put up a better fight than I expected from them. You know, I looked at this South Auckland Drillers roster. I thought there's a lot of pedigree here. This could be a very, very quick game. So far, not the case.
Yeah, they definitely seem to have sort of picked up a few learning points from their time in the lower bracket, and they're doing really well. So we'll see if they can keep it up here. JCap opting to stick on this Reinhardt now, and we do see Winton Overwatch try take a little bit of a flank. The charge coming through from JCap has to cancel it, can't quite connect onto much. Fire Strike going through, bringing a bit of damage to Shiloh, so Signed can follow up on that here, and now they want to get aggressive. This is where they want to get those final few picks, take out the remaining players, and just win this point.
Well, that was a little bit more like what I was expecting, to be honest with you. South Auckland Drillers just absolutely rolling over that first point contest and making it look relatively easy. Sometimes that's the nature of the game. Once you get a bit of momentum, it's about maintaining that momentum and rolling onto it in the next fight. Does give them a nice little boost in the ult economy as well. JCap getting quite close to having his 84%, and that could be a pivotal moment in this next fight if he gets off a good one.
Yeah, JCap looking for it as well, taking a lot of damage. The Shatter does take out Ons, however, and that is just going to lead to South Auckland Drillers running over the remaining few players.
Yeah, big shout out from JCap. I thought he was going to go down without using it. I thought he was going to go down as he was using it, but he just got it off, and Winton Overwatch, yeah, all on the floor, and pretty straightforward for South Auckland Drillers to clean that one up. So, I mean, it's a one ult fight for South Auckland Drillers, and that helps them a lot. Obviously means they come into this one with a lot more available, so still going to be a tough uphill battle here for Winton Overwatch. They've lost full momentum of this round. JCap's got himself another pick, so...
Oh, there we go. Ons, though, taking down 2. They're going to search for that third. Ons on a complete tear. Now wanting to take down that Reinhardt counterpart, and they do. That is just phenomenal Reinhardt gameplay right there.
Yeah, Ons coming up big in that fight, and South Auckland Drillers maybe just caught off guard a little bit. They did get the initial pick. You thought from there the fight was going to be an easy one. It's not quite the way that it played out. Ons comes up with the goods, and at a certain point, South Auckland Drillers just decide maybe that's not the fight for us. We'll let that one go by the wayside and recontest from 68%.
They're searching for that way to push in, using these Maywalls really well to try and gain a little bit of space here. But that Blizzard just completely shutting down on point. Shiloh popping the Deadeye, just wanting to zone everyone away, having to hide behind that wall. And it actually gives Ons enough time to live through being frozen, everything like that. Ons now charging in, taking out Finn, and they win another fight here.
Yep. I mean, this is still just the equalizing fights. It's not going to be enough to really trouble South Auckland Drillers just yet. And when you do look at the state of the game right now, South Auckland Drillers still very much in a favorable position right now. Even though they don't control the point, they still have a little bit of a buffer to play with, and they've also got some ultis to play with here. Winton Overwatch don't really have an answer for. There's no sound barrier. Here comes Side with the Deadeye. The wall does go up.
Yeah, that wall huge, but can't quite block. Signs taking down Matt. Shiloh getting that revenge kill, however, the good pick coming through. Finn now just trying to keep the rest of the team alive here, and it's working. South Auckland Drillers burning through these remaining players of Winton, Overwatch, JCap. Kind of saying, hey, Ons, you know what you did? I can do it too.
Yeah, I like that from South Auckland Drillers. Just a little bit of a combo from Finn and Sign to find that opening pick. Speed boost comes through at the perfect time. Sign able to find the angle on the flank. And from there, it's a bit of a waterfall. South Auckland Drillers, a very economical fight for them as well. So they are well poised to pretty much get it done here. This is potentially the last fight of this map. If Winton Overwatch are not able to get this one over the line, then they're going to be donezo.
Ons might have to bring a big shatter through here, trying to search for it at the moment. Can't quite see where to go. The shatter goes into a shield, sorry. The shatter from JCap not quite going on to much either. Both Reinhardts now charging through the May walls, causing so much chaos on this tiny wee point, but it's all coming up for South Auckland Drillers as JCap assigned and Sector both get a pick each. Shiloh trying to stall it out, but can't quite do it. This overtime going to South Auckland Drillers.
Yeah, well, as expected, that one fight was going to have to be won by Winton Overwatch. It was not. South Auckland Drillers, they put it over the line 2-0, and they'll be pretty pleased with how things have played out there to kick things off in this series. It didn't really feel like a massive contest on the second round. First round, you know, a bit back and forth, but I have to say I sort of felt like South Auckland Drillers had control of that for pretty much the entire time we were watching, even when it looked like there were situations, of course, where, you know, Winton Overwatch were in control of the point, they were ticking things up. You kind of had in the back of your mind that South Auckland Drillers, they've got time, they've got the understanding of where they need to play, and obviously they walk away with the win. Abstract, anything you want to say about that first map? Anything you noticed that we didn't?
Well, technically speaking, when it comes down to game 1 and game 2, I mean, at least for game 1, right, there was definitely some nice back and forth. But for our friends at Winton Overwatch, it kind of seems as though they just had the eureka moment where they realized that, you know what, their Ramatra wasn't really getting a lot of the attention that Ramatra is supposed to have, especially since when it comes down to the previous patch, Ramatra started to kind of tune down a little bit more and the out usage and such. So without a Lucio, at least in the first couple of fights, it really wasn't giving Ramatra that value that Ramatra was supposed to get. And only after Atomite changed from a Moira for a Lucio, that was really when Winton started to get ahead of South Auckland Drillers a little bit more. And really kind of feels like it boils down to the composition coming from them, not necessarily the skill disparity.
Indeed. All right. Well, that's something to sort of think about. We do have to head to a short break, though, so don't go too far away. Map 2 is going to be on the other side of this.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
If you've come this far, then you know what's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7. Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, it would be that reunion with Tommy, you know, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabrielle Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up," and she goes, "Your friend's not. Your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Oh, and then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
G'day, welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup Trials. This is the APAC Group B, which features Australia, Singapore, and New Zealand. Right now, we're watching the New Zealand Trials Grand Finals. It is, going along nicely. One map done and dusted. South Auckland Drillers, the team that we expected to come in as the favourites, did pick up map 1 there, but obviously we have to wait and see how the rest of the series does play out. We're looking for 3 maps out of 4, so, map 2, what's it going to be? That's the first question that I have, and it will be Monastery. So another new one that we get to head into. And so, does that change things up a little bit here? Do we expect to see much of a difference in terms of the result? For me personally, guys, I got to say I'm still on the South Auckland Drillers hype train. I think that was pretty obvious during the cast. But what do you guys think?
Honestly, it doesn't really seem like much is going to change since we're looking at Shambali. Both of these teams are very likely going to be playing a relatively same composition, not necessarily very much of a divey comp. But if they really do want to do that, I would want to see Winter Overwatch actually execute that.
Okay.
I'm a little worried myself personally because we saw how good at flanking South Auckland Drillers were, and Shambali Monastery is really good for flanking. There's a lot of ways you can go around, get behind them. Running Doom Tracer on a map like this, there's a little fear for me, is the most I can say.
Yeah, I think that is not a bad choice for South Auckland Drillers just in general, because they've got really experienced individuals. You've got veterans on this roster. You kind of trust them to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
Put them in position or put them on a character, a hero that can do something, can make a bit of a play. They're going to do it. They're going to get it done. But either way, let's jump into map 2 and see what we're going to get from this one, and whether or not it's going to be, a fairly similar result to the first one. Is it going to be close to begin with and then start to sort of push out a little bit for South Auckland Drillers? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But my prediction here is that we're headed towards a 2-0.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to if Winton Overwatch can kind of come together, offer up a really good defense, and stop that payload moving up along the Monastery here. Meanwhile, I kind of want to see the Widow come out from Color Hex. It's always fun to see a couple of headshots come here and there. And I mean, the Tracer was really good at harassing, but Widow gets some good lineups here.
I mean, yeah, look, if we're talking about Widows, then yeah, Color Hex is definitely going to be someone to keep an eye on. Very well known for, his Widowmaker back in the day. And I think Pharah and Widowmaker really have been the signature heroes that he used to be known for back when he used to play in Contenders Australia initially. Obviously, I know he's playing in it again more recently, but we'll see how this one does end up playing on out.
Yeah, as we wait for those hero picks to come through, looking at Winton Overwatch, they're going to go for a Genji Echo rollout here. Meanwhile, South Auckland Drillers opting to go for quite a bit more of that sort of long range. We got the Mei, we got the Hanzo. Color Hex on the Mei, those icicles are going to sting.
Indeed. Well, have a look, see how this one does end up playing on out.
I do like to see that Winton Overwatch have decided to bring out the Winston. Oh,
well, yeah.
Never mind. They're
I was
going to
say,
go to that.
are they going to commit to that? That's the real question, because I'm not so sure. I mean, you got Reinhardt on the other side of the field. Ons on the Wrecking Ball, not for very long. So, yeah, I mean, this makes a bit more sense. You can never really count your chickens before they hatch. Until someone runs out of the spawn room doors, I'm not really prepared to lock it in. But straight on the payload, no worries at all. Obviously, those long sight lines you talked about for South Auckland Drillers, just trying to get a bit of that poke through. Try to charge up some of the ultis as much as they can before the fight does ensue. Nothing really of note there just yet, but Ons is trying to get a little busy right here. Signed already having found that opener.
Yeah, and that's devastating. Taking out a Kiriko that quickly, that is huge for South Auckland Drillers, and they are going to want to try and take this fight aggressively here. Winton Overwatch doing the smart thing of just falling back, playing it safe, wait for that respawn. On's getting caught by the charge into a wall. You hate to see that, and Finn just following up, taking out the Reinhardt. Now we definitely see South Auckland Drillers go in for the kill.
Yeah, and this is where we might start to see a little bit of that pressure falling onto the shoulders of Winton Overwatch. You've already seen two really decisive fights from South Auckland Drillers, and they're up 1-0 already as well. So Winton Overwatch, they know this isn't going to be a long series if things continue in the fashion that they are. They're going to need to get something done. They're going to need to do it in the next 2.5 minutes or so. Luckily, we're starting to get to a position where ultis are building up, but again, another great wall. Color Hex is just having so much impact.
Yeah, the May walls can be massive, especially when you're trying to get a whole team to flank through this corridor here. Signed again, taking out the Kiriko. That is a huge pick early on. Color Hex now taking out Shiloh. You can't do much, even when you're trying to use a magnetic grenade when the whole team's running over you.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate reality about this as well for Winton Overwatch is that they're not even getting a single pick, right? So there's not even going to be any sort of stagger or anything like that. You can't say, oh, well, we can beat them on the spawn. Like, you're not even getting a pick. So South Auckland Drillers, they reset straight away. They're ready to go as soon as you are, which means you're basically running into a brick wall over and over. Winton Overwatch, they've got to make sure they don't lose picks early on in the fights again.
Oh, and there we go. Another support taking out so early. Blizzard this time coming through for Color Hex, and now JCap just running over those frozen victims. Team kill on the board.
Yeah, once again, just trying to take that same avenue, that same alleyway onto the contest, and it's just not worked out very well for them at all. Color Hex is having an absolute whale of a time right now on that May. Walls, Blizzard having a lot of impact. JCap now has got that Shatter available. And there's no shield. No Reinhardt for Winton Overwatch.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw how good Signed was just taking out random picks. However, Natty coming through with the overclock there. There we go, 2 picks to their name. Finds that third. Can they get a couple more? Trying to chase down Signed. Signed's not going to let you do that. And now it is just going to have to come down to Shiloh and Adamite to clean this up.
All right, well, finally a little bit of success for Winton Overwatch, and they can start to get that payload pushed forward. No doubt, though, they're going to have to get another fight in here before South Auckland Drillers is going to give up point A. And they don't have a lot of time to do it with it. They're pretty much going to have a clean phase from here on out. If they do not win this next fight, I'm not sure they're going to be able to even cap out point A. So that'll be really bad news for Winton Overwatch. That would not really pose much of a total for South Auckland Drillers. Next fight is going to be a big one.
Yeah, they have to play pixel perfectly here, because if they do lose someone early, we've only got 20 seconds on the board. Out comes that Kitsune Rush, trying to chase down, but the sound barrier to respond inside, and Color Hex just going absolutely crazy right there, just wiping out Winton Overwatch. All that is left is Ons rolling away. They're going to have to play for touch here, and I don't even know whether it's going to get too much value.
Oh, I don't expect that it will. You know, when you get in a situation like this, it's not going to go well. Ons can't even get there, just gets booped away, and so that is a very formidable defensive side from South Auckland Drillers. And well, yeah, like I've been sort of spruiking the entire day so far, that was a little bit more what I expected from this matchup. South Auckland Drillers just coming in, absolutely battering Winton Overwatch. Obviously, they need to uphold their end of the bargain now, moving on to the attack. But I have to say that is, you know, the expectation should be that this is South Auckland Drillers' map to lose now.
Yeah, there is not much distance for that payload to move. At least Winton Overwatch got a little bit of distance, so if they play a really strong defense, they might be able to make it work. Maybe, I mean, I don't even know how good spawn camping on a map like this is, but I don't think you can spawn camp a team like South Auckland Drillers. It's going to be a hard uphill fight for Winton here. I do wonder whether they should go to something like that Pinnacle Tea House that we went past to try and just, you know, relax, recoup, get some energy back into them and bring a solid defense. It looks like we're going to see Natty on Farah here for the defense. And if Farah confirms a couple of good picks, that could be huge, but my fear for that is Color Hex will quickly swap to something that removes you from the game.
Yeah, look, I mean, Color Hex, he'll be very familiar with the Farah matchup if that's the way that he wants to go for it, or obviously the Widowmaker is certainly an option there as well. The Farah, it sort of feels like a high-risk, high-reward kind of a playstyle here for Winton Overwatch. You're going to need to be getting a lot of that chip damage down early just to keep the pressure on. So far, some of those rockets are connecting, but it really hasn't kept South Auckland Drillers at base for too long. Bastion now out for Color Hex.
Yeah, Color Hex on the Bastion. Gonna bring in a lot of damage quickly. Probably gonna remove some of those shields from Ramatra here. Interesting to see they're back on Ramatra. On's hoping to make it work, and now with the Lucio rushing in. There goes the damage! Not quite confirming the kill just yet. Can't land that bomb either, but Color Hex is pumping in a lot of damage. But Shiloh, with the help of Nettie, does enough to take out Color Hex here. Now JCap goes down, and Winton Overwatch gonna bring quite the strong defense themselves for now.
Yeah, I mean, that one was really resting on a knife's edge, though. You think Natty cops one extra shot, probably goes down. Atomite the same. Both of those flyers very nearly got picked out of the sky by the Bastion straight up. You know, here's one that we didn't really talk about, but Color Hex has swapped over to the Echo.
Yeah.
Again, another well-known matchup against the Farah, so certainly something that he's going to be quite familiar with, and this will be a formidable task for Atomite and Natty to deal with.
Oh, that is a good start for South Auckland Drillers, taking out Shiloh. They should be able to start opening this up. Magnetic Grenade to take out Ons as well. Now the Farah feeling a lot of pressure. Everyone wants to look at them in the sky there, and that is a clean kill for Signed.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the issue with playing the Farah on the defense, isn't it? As soon as your opponent sees it, they swap over to a few hit scans. I know Signed has been on the Cassidy the whole game, but JCap's on the ball, you know, fairly hit scan, checks over onto the Echo, fairly counter of the Farah, and even Sector, right? If worse comes to worse, right? The Anna can even pop a couple of pot shots off at that Farah. They're going to have to touch here. Winton Overwatch, they've swapped over to the Echo themselves to try and counter it out, but it does not even matter. They're not even going to get a fight in, and that is map 2 done and dusted. South Auckland Drillers drilling straight through this game.
Yeah, absolutely. They have just decided we are an unstoppable machine, literally not letting them stop the payload once it started moving there. And I mean, I don't even know what to say for Winton Overwatch. They need to kind of do a wholesale change, figure out something to just completely shut down what South Auckland Drillers are bringing, because they're bringing the heat, they're bringing the pressure.
Yeah, a bit of a mental reset maybe required here, Abstract.
Yeah, it really feels like a raging inferno coming in from our friends at SAD, right? Considering the fact that, you know, on paper, right, when it comes down to the composition, when Winton Overwatch was attacking, South Auckland Drillers, they don't necessarily have a lot of utilities that can really work against Winton Overwatch, considering the fact that they don't have a Kiriko that can really work with the work against the anti-nade. So initially, on paper, I would have thought that, you know what, Winton Overwatch, they should be able to deal with South Auckland Drillers pretty easily, until, you know, we saw the couple of times that they actually lost. So I'm relatively surprised about that, but right after, you know, they changed out their Reinhardt into the Wrecking Ball, that was when they finally managed to win, as they decided to jump a little bit more into the back lines and create a little bit more space for Cassidy.
All right, well, look, guys, 2-0 the scoreline right now. South Auckland Drillers, they might just get this one done and dusted in 3. We'll have to wait and find out, though. We'll be coming back for map 3 right after this.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7. Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, it would be that reunion with Tommy, you know, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabrielle Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up." And she's, "Your friend's not. Your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Oh, and then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, she said he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials for APAC Group B. What a mouthful that is. But we're here watching the New Zealand Grand Finals right now. And tell you what, guys, there might not be much more of a New Zealand Grand Final because we've got potentially one map to go. Scores 2-0. It's looking like it's pretty one-sided. Apara, you got any thoughts? Are we going to go to 4, or do you reckon this is just 3 done and dusted?
I'm holding out hope. We're now moving to, by the looks of it, Esperanza. So another new map. I mean, all the push maps are new, so we're not surprised by that. They're, I can't see how we're not going to see a 3-0 at this rate. Winter Know What are going to have to bring something new to the table to be able to take it.
Yeah, indeed. Abstract, obviously, they've had, like 3 to 5 minutes just there to have a bit of a chat to figure things out. Any words of wisdom? You're the coach of Team New Zealand right now. What are you saying to get them back on track?
All right, I right now, the thing that I want to say to Winton Overwatch is let's go!
Oh, all right. Let's hype up. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know if that's going to help them. To be honest, they're going to need a little bit more than just the hype to come into this one. But yeah, look, I hope that they can get something done here because going down 3-0, while not maybe unexpected, would not be the result that they were looking for. Bearing in mind, they did go down 2-0 in this matchup already in round 1. And they made their way all the way back through the lower bracket. That's the craziest thing is we've kind of gone full circle as far as the New Zealand trials is concerned, right? They played against each other in round 1. Now they're playing against each other in the grand final. And yet it seems like the result is more or less going to be the same, Apara. So unfortunately, maybe that loss didn't end up helping them.
Yeah, I mean, there's always hope for a reverse sweep. It exists. They are a real thing. So we'll see if they bring it through here. But yeah, they're going to have to work really hard, play perfectly, focus down those crucial targets, focus the supports, run over those tanks, like sort of corner them out, all that sort of stuff. Hopefully moving to Esperanza, it should be good.
All right, well, speaking of, it's time for us to jump into map 3, so let's not mess around too much. We'll get straight into it, and we'll see how much longer this series is going to last. While we've got that little bit of downtime, though, I'd love to pick your brains, right? Let's pretend you're on the New Zealand committee. We'll just replace Joker with you. That's fine, I reckon. Who have you got? Who are you picking up as the coach of the New Zealand committee? Do you reckon there's a few players that are sort of putting their name up in highlight? Who's sort of catching your eye at the moment?
I mean, let's pretend I can't choose color Hex firstly, because that's a given. JCap is a phenomenal tank, been doing a lot of work. However, Ons is also bringing that pressure as well. They are kind of going head to head quite well, so I'd be happy to choose either of them there. Shiloh as well on the side of Winter Overwatch has been blowing me away in terms of their plays. So they're both doing quite well. So I would be happy to take sort of Shiloh Ons from Winter Overwatch. Signed, really good, showing off on the Hanzo right here. And I mean, we all know how good Sector is so far on the support. So I think I've at least got 4. I guess I'll be nice and take another support from the side of Winton Overwatch. So I'll take Adamite at this rate, sort of to match up with Sector's Ana plays.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. I mean, look, I think I'll sort of agree with you in some cases. I think Ons has been, for me, of the Winton Overwatch players, the most impressive for tonight. But does that get him to pick over the line compared to JCap? I'm not so sure. Either way, speaking of JCap, we've got him rolling out on the ball. I'm a big ball fan myself. Love to roll around and have a bit of fun. Let's see what he's going to do here. I mean, he's been spotted surely, but look at that lineup. I mean, they've gone like a bowling alley.
Yeah, that was absolutely a strike right there. What a play for JCap. JCap must be happy with that. Now trying to go in and just bring a bit more disruption. There we go. Got the pause coming through because we are 4v4. It's not Overwatch 3 just yet.
Well, I think that's fair. Just play on, to be honest. I mean, Winton Overwatch, they lost a player a little bit earlier on. So it was 4v5 for a second there. But hopefully that'll get sorted out pretty quickly. It's kind of funny that it's 2 players at the exact same time. But it doesn't really tell us a whole lot. I mean, there's not a whole lot to break down just yet. I guess South Auckland Drillers in control of the payload for the moment.
I could absolutely believe that South Auckland just said, hey, one of their DPS just dropped. We'll quickly drop so that we'll make it fair until, it's back to normal there. So I like to see that coming through. I assume that's what it is, but it's not an OCE tournament without a little bit of disconnecting, right?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Listen, Abstract, while we've got you, I know you love talking about the hero selections. What do you think about the matchup so far on map 3? Obviously, we've got the Ball and the Reinhardt. How's that sort of playing out in your mind?
I mean, when it comes down... Okay, so the whole thing about the current meta, at least in my mind, is that Ball is really shaping up in the meta, right? It's always all about the dive. It's about a ball plus tracer kind of thing. So when I'm looking at the South Auckland Drillers, looking at the ball and the tracer, I'm ecstatic. But on the other hand, looking at the Brigade, I thought that they would be looking at a dive archetype, more of like a kind of like a artillery style, whereas we are looking at a Zenyatta together with a Brigade. That would be great, right? Instead of a glass cannon Zenyatta, we're looking at a fortress of a Zenyatta just because of the Brigade. So I love that variation, and I love absolutely how that works. You have a lot of space because of the ball as well as the tracer up in front, and on the back you have the Brigade and Ana as well as the Cassidy. It's just kind of working around the back lines. That would absolutely be quite a tear against Winton Overwatch. All
right. Well, while we've got a little bit of time here and while we're filling still, what's your Team New Zealand based on what you're seeing so far today? If you take the role of Joker,
well,
or honestly, it doesn't have to be the whole team. Just like who's catching your eye more so.
It's got to be JCap. I gotta have to say, it's really got to be JCap. When it comes down to the front lines, typically speaking, the tanks play a very crucial role. And so far, when it comes down to Game 1 and Game 2, JCap has really been putting himself out there. He really gets his positioning right all the time. And he really knows how to balance very well when it comes down to damage as well as really peeling for his team. So he's got great ideas, and he's really putting them into play very nicely.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's another couple of votes for JCap. There you go. He must be doing something right. But look, luckily, it's actually not up to us. I wouldn't want that kind of what's the word? I wouldn't want that kind of pressure on my shoulders, right? I think the hopes of a nation, especially for New Zealand. I don't know what your thoughts are there, Opara, but I've always seen New Zealand as kind of like they've not really had the best time when it's come to the Overwatch World Cups. I mean, in Australia at least, we've had a couple of moments where we've been like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. Like we got pretty deep, but I feel like New Zealand's always just been, on the outer edge, unfortunately, of the results. But maybe this year's the year.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at South Auckland Drillers, we do have quite the strong team, so it gives us some hope. Overwatch 2, completely different realm. So yeah, hopefully our Overwatch 2 World Cup successes, failures are a little bit more than previous years.
New Overwatch, new me, maybe. That's the name of the game. But we're going to jump back into map 3 now, just for those of you who are looking at this and going, hang on, this is not where we paused. We did restart the map. So that's just how it's shaping up. Probably doesn't favor one team or the other too much. I think I might make the argument maybe that South Auckland Drillers had a bit of a better start in that last round. It was a real nice little 10-pin bowling from JCap, but aside from that, I don't think really too much was done early on in the piece. So it does maybe give the teams a bit of a chance to like do a bit of mind gaming here. Oh, we played this, so therefore you play that, and maybe we'll play this now. But the reality is that we're straight back into it from the outset. So I think that's all good in the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. The only thing it really gives is information on what they were playing. So we might see Winton Overwatch take a different sort of strategy and approach, but it does look like South Auckland Drillers sort of running the same style here. They got that Wrecking Ball to roll over people on the Winston, and there's that Sombra hacking out the Wrecking Ball, trying to shut down some of those dives, and JCap getting a nice early pile driver, trying to displace them a little bit, causing a lot of harassment from the far end, and taking out Natty early. Natty did not see that coming right there.
Yeah, I don't know that Natty will be too pleased about that port, but either way, it's not gone the way that he would have wanted it to. Color Hex in the mix as well, not quite going to finish that kill off, but, well, the fight is done and dusted, and South Auckland Drillers have got the payload push once again.
Yeah, so more or less the same as before, I guess we could say. So even with the DCs, South Auckland Drillers keeping their value from that last fight.
Yeah. Ons. On to the Winton. See what he can do here. Just taking a bit of chip damage every time he pokes his head around that corner. And so Winton Overwatch just going to change their position up onto the high ground, give themselves that advantage over South Auckland Drillers. Good chip damage onto JCap again, who seems to be in a bit of trouble, but as is ever the case on the ball, very slippery, gets out of there okay. And well, in that meanwhile, South Auckland Drillers are still pushing the payload.
Yeah, they're loving this right now. And with that magnetic grenade taking out Ons, they're going to get in up close and personal. Pulse bomb onto Shiloh, taking them out. Natty then finished off by Color Hex as well. And now Color Hex just going to run down, try to take out these supports.
Yeah, he's going absolutely bananas at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, look at them go. And look at this. The push bot just freely moving. Oh, here we go, Color Hex.
See what he can
trying
do.
To go in aggressive. Yeah, just trying to poke it out at the moment. Signed, just pumping in a lot of damage. We need to see Winton Overwatch change something up here.
Well, we got the minefield available for JCap, but just a bit of poke there from him and keeping Winton Overwatch at bay. I mean, I think we're in danger potentially of South Auckland Drillers being able to cap this map out.
Yeah, that's my fear right now. Shiloh gonna have to come through big with this tech visor, but the Deadeye from Sign searching for a couple of picks, trying to zone people away from that push bot. Gonna take out Ons, and that is such a good pick right there for Sign. Feeling good about that right now. Tech visor not finding too much because all the targets are just hiding away. Finn even finishing off Shiloh there, and this is getting into that desperation zone where Winton Overwatch, they need to come up with something big. Your enemy team is in your spawn.
Yeah, I think it's going from bad to worse for Winton Overwatch, but at the very least they do have a couple of ultis available to play with. Rally there for Atomite might just be enough to keep them in the picture, but it's pretty much down to one fight territory now, and South Auckland Drillers, well, they are getting very close to finishing this map off right here, right now. Sector just back out to safety for the moment. I mean, it's a long, prolonged fight happening here, isn't it?
Yeah, you usually can get quite a bit of stall, but with Ons going down early, that is devastating. There goes Natty as well, just with that Wrecking Ball rolling through your backline, causing the support to struggle, keep those heals up. Matt goes down another minefield on the push spot point there, so that push spot can just flow through freely, and Sign just taking names. South Auckland Drillers want that 2000, and they are going to get it, winning our grand finals there.
Yeah, if that is not a statement, then I don't know what is. You're not really supposed to let that happen, but the whole map does get capped out. And hey, we were talking about JCap a lot leading into that map, and here's a little play of the game from him. So did like that minefield right on the end. If it wasn't already done by that point, then the minefield and that move as well, by the way, on the line to deny the contests. Yeah, well done from JCap. Well done from South Auckland Drillers, but Abstract has to be said. We should have expected no less.
Dive is dive. That's what I would say. When it comes down to ball, played by JCap, there's just so much space that's created by JCap. One thing that Winton did was immediately picking up the Sombra right after the remake, because they know that as South Auckland Drillers is definitely going to be playing dive. This time, kind of changing things up a little bit. This is a lot more of the conventional dive with the critical Tracers, Lucio, and Ball, and any other DPS, in which case Sign played as Cassidy. So Winton, they had the idea of Sombra. Sombra isn't necessarily a very good DPS as compared to all the other DPS out there. But if you're specifically dealing with a Bull, that can actually put things out really nicely. And only if you have tempo after winning with a Sombra, there could even be a possibility that you can play as a Symmetra, for example. If you think that you just want to hold things there, you don't want them, don't want the ball to get anywhere closer, because those turrets, as long as they're placed well, I'm pretty sure that JCap wouldn't even be able to do anything, and that's just a tank that's not doing its job.
All right, Apara, well, seeing as you are the New Zealand representative, I'll give you the final closing thoughts on the New Zealand final before we head over to Australia.
Yeah, well, I guess South Auckland Drillers showed us why they went through that full upper bracket, win after win. I don't think they lost a map throughout that bracket. So they really showed their dominance. They showed that all of them deserve to be on Team New Zealand. We did see some star players coming out of Winton Overwatch, but I think it went sort of how we expected. We couldn't see that reverse sweep or that underdog story today, but there's always a chance, keep in it, Winton Overwatch.
All right, well, we'll see whether or not our next matchup is going to be as one-sided as that one. We're going to be moving into the Australia Grand Finals just after this. It'll be Team Yeah Nah up against Siebes, and we'll head to a short break. While we do that, quick shout-out, Samsung and Neon. Make sure you check out The Last of Us. We'll see you on the other side.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
If you've come this far, then you know what's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7.
Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, so it would be that reunion with Tommy, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabriel Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up," and she goes, "Your friend's not, your friend's not here." And she goes, "What'd you say?" Oh, and then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, she said he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Welcome back. It's the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials for APAC Group B. New Zealand done and dusted. That was a 3-0 for South Auckland Drillers over Winton Overwatch. We did kind of call it a little bit, but the question is now going to be whether or not that same thing will happen in the Australian Grand Final. That's what we're heading into just now. Siebes and Yena going head-to-head. So, I don't know, in terms of the naming battle, is it New Zealand winning or is it Australia winning? I'm going to go with Australia, but maybe I'm a little bit biased. Either way, this is our matchup. Yena, Siebes. I think I'm outvoted then in that case because we've got the New Zealand rep and the Singapore rep against me, I dare say. But Abstract, Team Yena and Siebes. going head to head here in the AU Grand Final, what are we expecting to see?
Both teams are absolutely stacked, but of course, Siebes, they are understandably they're pretty much a dream team composition, right? They consist of all the best Australian contenders players, and we're looking at Punk in here. Of course, he used to play in Overwatch League, of course, and because of that, could very well make them one of the favorites of the series. And not to forget, big fan of Nami here, so probably one of the top defenders there.
Well, we'll get into that discussion in just a second. Let's touch on Team Yenar first. Apara, I'll fire this one over your way. You know, I look at this roster and I think, hey, if you picked this roster 3 or 4 years ago, you got Quats, you got a Kraken. I remember those two were in some discussions as best in their slot back in the earlier days of Overwatch contenders. So it's not as if this is the team that lacks experience, lacks ability.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, nah. Going to bring a lot of pressure. We've got Quats, we've got Akron, we've got Olam. There's a lot that's going to be coming through here. So, a couple of contenders sitting in there. I think we got one on the bench as well, just in case of backup. I think they got an extra one of like Don, I believe it is. So yeah, no, I'm really excited to see Yenar come through.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you guys know that meme. I think it's like Top Gear meme, right? Where it's like, this is brilliant, but I like this. That's what I feel like this matchup is right now, right? I look at Team Yenar, I'm like, that's brilliant. You got some good players there. But then I see Team Siebes, and I'm like, but I like this. So you were talking about it a little bit earlier. Abstract, give us your thoughts.
Of course, Kafa, Nami over there. We've got Aki, Nanda, as well as Punk. Well, all I can say is every single one of them contenders experience, a lot of competitive experience as well. Players all around the place. Ground Zero Gaming with Nanda, Atlas, as well as Aki. But of course, Atlas is more of like in the sub spot for now. But we can pretty much expect all 5 of these players will be able to perform flawless.
Yeah, look, I think you would be not too surprised if this ended up actually just being Team Australia. That's the way that I sort of see it. I think these guys are pretty much best in slot in a lot of cases. Like, I'm not super up to date with Australian contenders as it's. I have been out of Australian contenders for a couple of years, but these are the names you continue to see in the grand finals. So, look, I wouldn't be surprised to see them walk away with a win here today. Let's touch on the veto first, though, before we get too deep into the discussion around these two teams. Antarctica Peninsula, once again, to start things off on Control. I'm not sure that the map veto necessarily is going to play into it too much, but what are your thoughts, Apara? Do you have any 2 cents on this matchup as far as the maps are concerned?
No, I do genuinely think both teams, no matter the map that we're playing on, are going to just bring their all. They've got so much knowledge, contenders knowledge, just gameplay skill, all that sort of stuff is going to come through. I think my big questions are going to be, who are we going to be seeing on tank out of Kuffer and Punk? You know, they're both quite good tanks. Punk obviously playing tank in Overwatch League. Kuffer so known for their tank. So it could be an interesting question to see who decides to be that DPS.
I think actually this year, though, Overwatch World Cup is going to be quite an interesting one when it comes to the Australian region, just because, you know, as someone who's been involved in contenders and in Overwatch since, I guess, it started, right? I've sort of seen that transition of the Overwatch World Cup team, and like it sort of feels like this is kind of the first year where we get that like new guard, right? There was the old guard, you had all the OGs we used to see in all of the years of Overwatch contenders, and you look through that lineup. If you have like the list of every single Overwatch World Cup team that Australia has sent over, and it's like almost the same team with a couple of like slight differences based on the year. But this year it's like, okay, we've completely reset everything. It's out with all the old players. Like all the old players have kind of retired. Now it's all that like sort of new, and I say new, but even though they've been around for a couple of years now, new talent sort of starting to come through and get their opportunity to jump into this Overwatch World Cup team. So I kind of like what we're getting out of this year. I think it's the opportunity for a lot of these players to sort of finally put their name in lights. Yeah, you mentioned obviously Punk has got that Overwatch League experience, but as far as the rest of them are concerned, I don't think really any of them have kind of been able to find those heights, right? Nami, Nanda, Kuffer, Atlas, Aki, they've all been around a long time. I know Quats and a Kraken have been, I think a Kraken has definitely been in the Overwatch World Cup team. I can't recall if Quats was in the Overwatch World Cup team before, but, you know, there's a lot of big names playing in this matchup that have experience in big moments like that, and there's a lot of names that don't have a lot of that experience and haven't had that opportunity just yet. And so what I'm trying to get at is that this is really cool for a lot of these players that have come through in more recent years in the Contenders Australia ecosystem to finally be able to get that chance to kind of go overseas and play against some international opponents. Because obviously COVID's a thing. We haven't really had that much of an opportunity to play overseas, especially for teams coming from Australia and New Zealand. It's just ping diff. You just can't do it. So as far as this chance is concerned for those players, then I think they're super stoked to grab it. But obviously. So we're going to have to wait and see how it does obviously play out. Looks like we're still getting things sorted in the server, guys. So we'll take a short break. Don't go too far away. The Australia Grand Final will be up in just a sec.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, this is final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
If you've come this far, then you know what's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7. Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, so it would be that reunion with Tommy, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabrielle Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up," and she goes, "Your friend's not. Your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Oh, and then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, she said he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
G'day, welcome back. It's the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials for APAC Group B, and we are into the Australia Grand Final, or we are about to be into the Australia Grand Final in just a second. Now, quick update. When we did have a look at the graphic just before for Siebes, it had Punk on the roster. That is not correct. It is actually going to be Atlas tonight. So, you look at that, and that probably makes a little bit more sense. Obviously, Kuffer and Punk both filling a very similar role. So, Kuffer, you'd expect you're going to be taking the tank role. And you've got the 2 sports in there now. So there you go. Very good stuff. So look, I think it's time for us to jump into map number 1. So let's get ready. Let's get excited. And let's get hyped for the Australia Grand Final. And we'll see which way this one does go. Abstract, give us your prediction as we jump in. Do you reckon it's going to be a quick one, or are we going to get a pretty tight game here?
I think that it's gonna be a pretty tight game. I mean, after all, Seeps, yes, they are absolutely strong, but we definitely cannot outshadow Yena's own expertise, right? They all are very mechanically great, and every single one of them already have got great experience when it comes down to a couple of contenders games, and they all represent their own organizations as well. So all of them coming together, we have people that is from Kid Bash before, Autoria, like from Kraken as well, Maywing, so, and Order. Let's not forget about Order with Quartz in there. Donald, I believe Dawn is also in Order. So honestly, between Yana and Seeps, it could very well be a 60-40 leaning more towards Seeps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'll probably give it a bit higher than that. I reckon I'll give it 75 to Seeps. I know there's some good players on this ENR roster, and I've obviously got a lot of respect for Quartz and a Kraken in particular, who had such a great run in the early stages of Overwatch Contenders Australia. But I think in more recent times, as we've said, sort of seen some of that new talent starting to come through, and that new talent has been the predominant force, I guess, when it comes to Overwatch Contenders Australia. And, well, that talent is all on the Seeps roster at the moment. So we'll have to see how they go as they do roll out for the first round of this grand final. Atlas on the Lucio there. Nanda on Torb is an interesting pick.
Absolutely fast pace coming in from both sides. They are all trying to contest for the point. Of course, it's not really quite yet unlocked. But one thing's for sure is that Yana, they are already taking quite a bit of aggression. But the anti-nade did start things off for Seeps and putting Yana in a really tough spot.
Yeah, Kraken does already get that pick onto Aki, so maybe our assumptions have gone in the incorrect direction to start things off. Team Yana do get control of the point first.
Not too big of a problem for them, at least for now. But the way that we are going to be looking out for the side of Seeps is that they do have got himself the Jungle Queen. So at least when it comes down to anything, when it comes down to antis, they definitely do. Yana does not have anything when it comes down to Kiriko, no Suzu whatsoever. So that is probably one thing that we should definitely look out for. But Yana and Seeps, they probably will have got ideas as to how they would want to counter against one another when it comes down to their own mechanics.
Well, Nanda still persisting with the Torbjorn. Nami getting quite close to that Deadeye, going to be a factor perhaps in this next fight. We do have some aggression coming on through from Kuffer, trying to get up there onto the high ground, but doesn't look like it's worked out too well for Seeps, as once again, they just get pushed away. Quartz able to find that kill onto Nanda, and Olam now under the fire. We've got a couple of quick picks out for Seeps, and this is really their opportunity. They've decided they've let it slip by the wayside for a little bit too long, and straight on to the point after winning that fight in decisive fashion. Where did that come from?
Well, the entire time when it comes down to Seeps, they weren't exactly very committal when it comes down to any form of those fights. It has always been Yana trying to push their aggression right into Seeps' face. So it would really seem as though Seeps is really just trying to go for more of a poke kind of style that they're working with. They also do have the God of Torbjorn. It's definitely not something that will go wrong at most times. Whenever you pick up a Torbjorn, you're just really trying to understand what you can do in the coming future. But you can't exactly go wrong with it. You have a lot of value just by itself. Even though you don't have Molten Core or whatsoever, it could really bring out a lot of value. As such, Seeps, they're just waiting for the perfect time. And now they already have got a great ultimate economy when it comes down to Nanda, Atlas, as well as Kuffa, with all this fight starting out with a Molten Core.
Yeah, that Molten Core, I'm not sure it's going to be super effective. Nami has managed to get that pick onto Don, doubles down in fact as well. A Kraken out of the picture. This was looking bad for Seeps. They lost control of the point, they lost momentum, but couple of quick picks come through from the DPS players, and Seeps is back in control of the point. With that said, they did give Yana a little bit of trickle there, up to 75% now.
would normally think that Torbjorn would be kind of like a niche pick when it comes down to the opponent's divey style when there is a tracer. Because let's be honest here, the turret is definitely really annoying to deal with. But in this case, Yana doesn't really have a tracer. But in the meantime, we're just gonna hold that thought a little bit as Rampage goes through.
Yeah, good connection from Kuffer, but he instantly gets turned upon by multiple members of Yenar, and so it hasn't quite gone the way that Seems would have liked it to. They still control the point, they're still getting that tick up. Don in deep, but Nanda is a one-man army at the moment. 3 kills straight away for Nanda, and Nami chimes in with another as well. That's the power of Torbjorn. He just sat in, I guess he sat on the point and hammered away.
Yes, that's just Torbjorn things doing Torbjorn things. All you gotta do, stay alive, and the value would eventually come by itself. So far, Yana has got 75% on the point, while Seeps, they are coming in close to 99%. Things are definitely starting to spice things up for Yana. One thing they gotta do is just get a speed boost, immediately get in. However, they do have a Kraken with his ultimate, and that is exactly how they're gonna be starting off with it.
Yeah, 99%, it's gonna have to be now or never for Yana. Nanda desperately trying to build up that molten core. 65 HP he goes down to. He's getting jumped upon, though, by multiple members and can't get it down on the point. It'll be Yenar to flip it back over. And now it starts to get a little bit worrisome for Seebs. Aki has chimed in with a pick onto Olam, which will give them a bit of a chance. There's a ball out now as well. Cover there for the touch if necessary, as we tick our way up to 99-99. I think Seebs have got an extra member on the field for the moment. Aki, though, does go down. It starts to get a little bit problematic. Don and Quats chiming in. New as well, getting rid of that turret. And I think, unfortunately for Seebs, the shenanigans haven't quite gone their way here. And now it's into that final trickle pine.
It really is about a nuisance coming in from the ball. He's just going to be sticking himself onto the point as much as possible. But look at this. Yana, they have all 5 members right on the point, while Seeps, they have got no way to answer against Yana. And that allowed them to get themselves to the 3-digit 100%, getting themselves the first point against Seeps.
Yeah, look, I'm a little bit surprised by that. I think I wasn't really expecting Seebs to come out with the composition that they did there. We'll see if they continue with that as an option. Yeah, nah. Just had a little bit better control of that. I mean, they won that initial fight. They're able to keep that momentum going. And Seebs just continually fighting from behind, it kind of felt like, and couldn't really regain full control of that round. But a little bit of a reset here. And we'll see if things shift in the other direction on this rollout.
With both of the tanks picking up the Reinhardt for themselves, definitely can't go wrong when it comes down to Reinhardt. Whenever you want to control for a point, so all you got to do is just swing your hammer and you've got a lot of value from coming from that. If you want to peel, that is what you will be able to get when it comes down to a Reinhardt. But one problem is, both sides, they also have a Mei. And the Mei is definitely going to make it or break it, depending on how the wall is pointed out. So we're going to have to look out for Nanda as well as New when it comes down to making out a play. Immortality field pop down, and the rest of the members from Helna, or rather Yana, they're all at a really critical point of entry. And Seems they're still not going down until now, as Nami and Kuffer take the first breath out.
Yeah, once again though, yeah, nah, do win that initial exchange, and so they're the first team to get onto the point. That'll be the job of Don. Caps it up straight away, no worries. And off to a good start once again is Yana in round 2. Seebs looking for that recontest straight away.
All of the members from the side of Yana decided to really move backwards and not wanting to contest against Seebs. All 5 together is probably going to be the main part of the game. They will want to move in together as a death wall, and as I said, the wall is what we're looking for.
Yeah, Nami not really having the impact here and gets taken down by New. Olam as well has finished off Kuffer, and it's just falling apart a little bit for Seebs. Nanda drops and Atlas does too. That was a bit of a nothing fight in the end for Seebs.
Good amount of ultimate was used as well. Kraken, I believe, and Dawn. Don't remember seeing the beat, but the main thing is that the sound barrier would definitely be one of the key ultimates that we should be looking out for. With Yana getting a control of the point, having got Maze as well as Quads of Shadow, that's what we want to look for. But unfortunately, the High Noon doesn't seem like there's much value to be made.
No, certainly not. And once again, Seebs losing the initial player, but very quickly the tables turn in that engagement. Don in a 1v1 on the point against Nami. A little bit of backup coming through there for the DPS of Siebes. And so they will get away with that one pretty comfortably in the end. 50% for Nah as the flip comes through. Very back and forth round.
Absolutely back and forth. We were definitely looking at Siebes maybe getting themselves a great start and such, but it doesn't seem like it would be that way. Yana has been creating a lot of opportunities and space for themselves, and they are just really moving together really as a team. They are just together one army all by themselves. So what is going to be the main play of the game for Siebes? How are they going to be breaking Yana at this moment in time? It really is just probably pushing cover in front of everyone.
Oh yeah, just impressed by the way that Nah is going about this. They are looking really clean in a lot of these engagements, and it seems the only fights that they lose are kind of the ones that they're supposed to, right? When Siebes have got the ult advantage or the positional advantage, yeah, okay, it makes sense. But Nah, in the straight 50-50s, they are winning a lot of those and doing so quite cleanly as well. They're back in control of that point, and Siebes is once again having to contest. Will they let that flip happen? No is the answer. Quartz goes down. The Earth Shadow was tossed out there by Cuppa, and, well, very quickly, the rest of the dominoes do fall over, and Nah get dispatched of, but they've got a bit of a buffer to play with.
Well, 2 ultimates used from the side of Siebes in order for them to keep themselves at a point a little while longer, while all they put out was just a Kraken's ultimate, so it's not too big of a deal. They still have got one key ultimate, which is the sound barrier. If they do want to just rush right in, if they want to take more control against the maze field. So there is still quite a lot of plays here coming in from Yana, and I do have some expectations coming from them.
Oh, nice little speed boost there. Gets most of Siebes out of danger, but the Earth Shatter from Quartz is a big one. They worried about the Blizzard. They did not worry about the Earth Shatter. In the end, it was the 1-2 punch that got them. And Siebes is out of the picture in that fight. They don't quite get to 99%, and we start to find ourselves in one-fight territory again.
It's gonna be back and forth, right? Yana used 2 ultimates in that round. Siebes already have 2 ultimates that's ready for the next one. So it really just depends on who's just going to be rushing right in first. But Yana, they wanted to take their aggression. They wanted to be on top of everyone else. As such, they're just gonna be sending Quartz in first to try to go for the charge, but unfortunately reap no rewards.
Yeah, I think they might have bitten themselves a little bit in the foot here. Shot themselves in the foot, maybe even. It's a good way of putting it. They get reset, they get staggered at a very poor time, and as a result, they don't get the opportunity to really contest on 99-99. They tried to get ahead of the fight, didn't they? They took the matters into their own hands, and it kind of blew up in their face. So scoreline 1 apiece, and there it is, the first 3 rounds that we're going to get on a control map tonight. Maybe not the last. We have Singapore coming up after the Australia Grand Final, but a little bit closer than the New Zealand match, I think, so far.
Definitely. The fact that we are looking at the 3rd game of a single map is definitely gonna... It's just something to tell us that both of these teams, Siebes and Yana, they are here to win, and they are not gonna stop until the entire series is over. And as such, we're just going to be jumping into the 3rd round of this map. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any much of a change when it comes down to the composition. In fact, it's almost, no, not almost, but it's totally mirrored. Every single one of these players from Yana as well as Siebes, they have got an idea as to what they want to do. And from this point on, it really just depends on their skill and coordination.
Yeah, nice charge in there from Quartz. Not enough to finish anyone off, and he starts to look a little bit worse for wear as that shield breaks. The Batiste slams and it goes up, but it gets broken straight away, and so then does Quartz. Siebes on the high ground, winning this war of attrition. They're finding 1 and 2 picks here and there, and slowly but surely starting to get control of the point, and they'll cap that one out pretty quick. Smart. Good start to the 3rd round for Siebes.
The high ground advantage was definitely great coming in from the side of Siebes. They identified exactly what they gotta have to do in order to force the advantage onto Yana this time. They haven't really gotten themselves the first point in a round before, but this is the point in time that they actually have it. Do they have the tempo? Well, that's the question that we gotta have to ask. Cuppa does have got his Earth Shatter. If whether he wants to use this to put the advantage even more, that is entirely up to him, and whether they will be able to pull that out or not.
Well, he's given it a crack. I'm not sure that it's connected too well. Who got knocked onto the floor? Doesn't really matter because Siebes have rolled over this fight anyway. Whether that Earth Shatter connected or not, Siebes very happy with the conversion there. And so that's a pretty clean fight win. Just cost them the 1 or 2 ultis and up to 50% by the time the next fight even starts.
Pretty sure that the Earth Shadow landed right in front of the shields, but Yana took the opportunity to really swing his hammer around, and they underestimated the power of Nami, and that is the man that we're looking out for. You know, he's kind of like a man on a mission, possessed and such. He's just gonna be tearing out everyone else as much as possible. As such, you're gonna have to watch out for them, as now they're just gonna be working their way right onto the hole in the wall, and hoping that Yana will be able to break through the defense of Zeebs.
Nami's looking for a dead eye, and he's gonna pop it straight away. The wall does go up. Everyone's hiding behind some terrain. Oh, the team wall might have actually cost him a couple of kills there. Nanda, we'll have to go back and have a look at that one, but either way, Zeebs are in the advantage in this engagement. The barriers do come down on both sides. Don has found himself a pick actually onto Nanda, so maybe I've spoken too soon. 1 for 1 as we start to get deeper into this engagement. Olam certainly going to be thinking about that Deadeye as well. Finds some space, can't find the angle though. And in the end, just has to give up on that idea. Zeebs force them away from the point and will cap out 2-1 is the scoreline on map 1 as Zeebs will finish it off in their favor.
Definitely a big game coming from both these two teams, right? Well, the main thing that we're looking out for is really just about Zeebs. They have got a really good idea how they want to do it. Of course, when it comes down to the final fight, it's an arsenal of unleashed ultimates. They just wanted to make sure that that is their final fight, put a nail in the coffin.
All right, well, we have Opara back in the conversation and love to get your thoughts on that first map. A little bit closer than what we saw from the New Zealand Grand Final.
Yeah, that was a really exciting match. It almost felt like Zeebs were kind of doing some kind of learning style. They watched how Yana played that first round. They ran the Torbjorn, ran something a bit fun, and then they sort of realized, okay, this is what they're running. We're going to bring it to them that next match. Brought the mirror match, just won it out because that was still a bit back and forth, and then they perfected it. They really sort of showed us 3 stages of how Zeebs are going to play this game, and it was really exciting to watch. I think one key thing that I can say was it was good to see Nanda go from flanking to being a bit more team-based, using those walls for themselves, everything like that. But really fun match.
Yeah, indeed. Good stuff coming through from both teams. Obviously, a little bit closer than what we saw originally in the New Zealand Grand Final, and hoping that kind of continues through the rest of these maps. Speaking of which, we're going to have to head to a short break before we do head into a map number 2. But if that first map is anything to go by, maybe this is going to be quite the contest. We'll see you in a sec.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
If you come this far, then you know it's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7. Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, so it would be that reunion with Tommy, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabriel Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up." And she's, "Your friend's not. Your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Whoa! And then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, she said he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenajay, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials. We are into the Australia Grand Final. This is the APAC Group B. And scorelines right now, 1-0. Although a little bit more of a closer 1-0 than what we've been used to seeing so far tonight. Siebes up with the advantage against Team Yenar, but there definitely looked like there was a moment maybe where Team Yenar could potentially have walked away with map win there. Either way, time for us to start talking map 2, and let's have a look and see what it is going to be. Havana, there's a bit of a throwback. So for you, Opara, was there enough there from Team Yenar to make you think they can get a map in this series?
I think so. They really do play quite a good sort of Ryan May Cassidy. So if they maybe continue run that, we could see whether they can kind of do that classic Havana forward spawn camping. However, we're not in Overwatch 1 anymore, so we do have to remember there isn't that second shield for that extra defense. So we might not see it. We might see that long range, but I'm excited to see how they take Havana.
Have you got any sort of conclusions drawn from that first map abstract? Do are you prepared to put your money on one of these teams just yet?
I'm putting $1 on Siebes. I have no idea.
Not a very big bet.
Nah, I can't, because right now, whatever we saw in Antarctica is probably going to be very different from what we are going to be seeing in Havana. Being such a huge map, I really want to see a sniper duel between Siebes and Yana. So to be honest, a Widow, a Sigma, those kind of things coming up into the game is absolutely what I want to see.
All right, well, time for us to find out whether or not you'll get your wish as we can jump into Havana and kick off map number 2. Now, bear in mind, this is a best of 4 or first to 3, whatever you prefer, what kind of terminology you want to go with. So you got a little bit more time to play with in this particular grand final compared to the rest of the matches in the original bracket. But if we were to take a look at the original bracket, I think it was Team Siebes that walked away with a pretty comfortable win over Yenar in that initial bracket. So if that's anything to go by, maybe we're getting some early vestiges of that. See whether or not that gets confirmed, though, as we do head on to map number 2.
Perhaps we'll be able to see Yana understanding how Siebes play. Maybe they will be able to uncover the secrets to break Siebes through. That could also be the possibility why in map number 1 in Antarctica, they made the game so close against Siebes. We don't have a very general idea how their game in the other brackets were, but right now, all we can work with is the game that we have for every single one of you guys here. Map number 2. Here, of course, in Havana, what kind of a composition we're looking out for? Yana kind of seems as though they're just sticking to the same. They're sticking to the same guns that they're looking for, while Siebes, they have a little bit of a difference here, right? they're looking at a ball, a Zenyatta, as well as a pharmacy combo. So at least one thing's for sure, they won't have aerial superiority. They will be able to cover a wide range as well. The good thing is Yana, the only hit scan that we are looking out for is practically going to be Cass, if we are to be very honest, unless Kraken decided to play more of a DPS Baptiste.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily be expecting that one. Nami stops straight back up onto the Hanzo, see if he could get a pick there on the Widow, but not going to happen. So back to something a little bit more tried and tested. The Fire and Mercy comp on the spawn doors of Havana, very, very common, and you can see exactly why. Lots of free damage getting rained on down, and as you say, nothing really in terms of counters for Team Yenar. They just don't really have an answer for Nanda. He's got so much freedom up here in the sky to be putting that damage down, and it's really helping out with the control on the ground. Has to try to get in there and get into the thick of things. Maybe that hasn't quite gone the way that I would have wanted, but again, still trading 1-for-1 for Team Sieves here is all well and good. They've got the spawn advantage.
It really comes down to the point where Ball have to create as much space as possible for the pharmacy combo. But once one person is down, it's really going to be really tough for them to work with one another that much. At this point in time, Sieves has managed to get a pretty nice kill and wipe onto Yana, allowing them to take control of the escort point and just going to be escorting the payload over to the very first point. But of course, it's not going to be as easy as we thought it would be, as Yana, they're slowly starting to crank up when it comes down to the ultimate. A Kraken is going to get his one soon. Dawn is going to get his sound barrier, and Olaf has got his dead eye, if it actually comes into fruition.
Oh. Well, let's see what Nanda's going to be able to do when he presses that ultimate key. This is looking real good. Lines up a couple. Eventually does get the better of himself, I feel like, for the most part there. But 2-for-1. The cleanup crew came through. Cuppa's there. Atlas even able to get that res as well on the Mercy. So all happy days as far as Team Sieves is concerned. And actually quite an economical fight as well. Just the two ultis getting invested there. I don't even know if Yenar can get a contest here.
It really comes down to Nanda understanding the ultimate economy from the side of Yenar, right? So he believed that Baptiste, yes, is probably going to have his ultimate soon. And because of his ultimate, they will be able to set up quite an artillery against Sieves, making it even tough for them to escort a payload even more. So one thing that he decided to do is just jump himself right on top of a Kraken and just take him down once and for all before his ultimate even comes out.
Well, off we head into point B. And Kappa going to drop the mines on the stairs. That's enough to get the better of Nu. He's got the Harmony Orb on as well, and so be able to push forward, safe in the knowledge that he's going to continue to receive some of that healing. And inevitably, the rest of the team comes through to clean up the rest of the Yenar roster. So far, this is looking really quite free for Sieves.
Sieves has changed up the way they play it a little bit, but really just by a little bit, with having Nanda changing out from a Pharah to a Genji and Alice from a Mercy over to an Ana. Yana, a Kraken have changed over to a Kiriko, so at least they have a Suzu to really deal with the anti-nade, while for Nanda, I'm honestly generally surprised that they have decided to go for a Genji. They will want to pair the Genji together with Kappa and play around the Discord in order to really bring the opponents down and create as much space as possible for Nami. So honestly, Nanda is doing a pretty good job, considering that Genji is not really in a very good space.
Yeah, very good job. Double kill quite quickly there, and well, that's going to pretty much secure point B for Sieves. Yeah, no. Now only have 1 point left to defend, and 4.5 minutes for Sieves to play with is a lot of time heading into point C.
It's been going pretty well for Sieves so far.
Look at their position too.
Yeah, they even have the Nano Blade prepared for themselves. And for Yana, they don't have any key ultimates that will be able to help them to deny that Nano Blade. So it really comes down to a point in time when you gotta have to pull off the overclock and just snipe Nanda out. That is the problem. That's the only thing that they can work with, unless maybe they want to play with Valkyrie.
Yeah, you'd really like to see Quat's doing something, but I'm not sure he's really got the tools to deal with this Nano Blade, does he? I mean, no chance to build that ulti up. The hook connects, and that's nice, but it's just not enough to finish Nanda off, and that was a little bit too clean, a little bit too easy for for Team Sieves.
With a 3K, with a Nano Blade, plus another kill onto Olam as a tracer. That is going to stagger Seebs a lot more, and it's going to make things a little bit tougher for them to even rally together, right? Yeah. Speaking of rally, Yana, they do have a brigade that is going to be playing for them. In the meantime, Minefield pops out.
Yeah, the mines have done a lot of damage. Quartz was very low for a moment there. So too was Don. Kuffa looking for the boot. Isn't quite going to be able to get that one over the line, but in the end pushes Quartz out of position enough that the team can clean him up. Olam taken out of the sky by Nami, and this is a payload that has basically not stopped moving at all this round, and that is going to be over the line very comfortably for Seebs. Transcendence on the back end there for Aki is more of a victory lap celebration than anything else. That was a commanding attacking side.
That is amazing from the side of Seebs, as they have 2 minutes and 55 seconds in the storage for them to play for the next round. That is if Yana have managed to push the payload all the way through the third point. This is gonna be pretty darn tough for Yana right now. Seebs, they are literally gonna be on a pretty good streak. They are on tempo, and I'm pretty sure that they have got a good mentality to go against Yana and just stop them right on their shoots.
Yeah, I agree. Holding point A though on Havana, you know, it doesn't happen every day, and normally when it does, it's right up on the point itself. But if Seebs can find the way to sort of bleed a bit of that time out, fighting around the spawn doors, and then really sort of find themselves for a second fight around the point, then yeah, look, I mean, there's definitely a world where this gets full held. I think Seebs is a team that's good enough to do that.
But I'm generally surprised with the current picks from Yana. I mean, I don't want to jump into conclusions just yet because they are not out there yet, you know? Only when they're out, then I'll probably talk a little while more about them. But the one thing that I'm surprised about is definitely going to be that Roadhog pick. Roadhog, well, it's just not that bad. It's not that good as well. There's a lot many other tanks that will be able to fulfill the role of a tank better than a Roadhog. The only thing that you would want to look out for when it comes on the chain hook is just to look at it more of a stun rather than thinking of it as a pickoff tool.
Oh, well, there's a pickoff tool if I've ever seen one. Atlas just gets pulled out of the sky, and Nanda as well goes down. That is not exactly what Seebs were hoping for. That's not how it's supposed to go. And, well, it's going to give ENR a bit of free push here. I mean, obviously, there's going to be that little bit of a trickle through here from Seebs. You've got Kappa still playing around on the point, but inevitably, they'll just back off. And so that's actually really clean so far from ENR.
I'm surprised with that Roadhog pick that actually worked against the Mercy.
Yeah.
5 seconds in, and he's already done something, and that is huge value for the team. Seems right now is definitely going to be having the back against the wall just by a little bit, allowing the payload to actually push through just a little bit more, until the point in time where the payload reaches the point where Nami can actually defend it pretty well. All fate rests on his sniping capabilities, and when it comes down to Kuffa, he's got to create as much space as he could.
Yeah, Quad's eating those Discord orbs, though, is not very fun. Same thing can be said, though, for Kuffa, as he goes down pretty quick. Smart Nami as the Widowmaker out and trying to find a couple of picks here and there. No such luck with the headshots. The Zenyatta needs to be careful. Aki, I think that might have been a 5-ball onto a Kraken, who just gets deleted from existence. And that'll slow Yenar down just a little bit.
It's going to be a pretty good slow, I suppose. 2 minutes and 55 seconds for Seebs. And if Yana is just going to be going at this exact same pace, there could be a chance that Yana will be able to keep up with Seebs and really just go for a really tough tiebreaker on the third push. So we just see how that is going to work out as the rest of the members from the side of Yana. They do have quite a bit of ultimate economy, but speaking of ultimate economy, Quad with his whole hog.
Yeah, Nanda just getting those sticky bombs right onto Quartz and finishing him off straight away. Olam hiding in the corner. Seebs are doing a good job of bleeding time out, even if they don't hold point A, which, I mean, at the moment, it kind of looks like they might be able to do that. They've set themselves up nicely to win this map. Quartz trying his best with the Roadhog, but no chance.
Yana, they're having quite some difficulties here. I mean, we're really talking about the Kuffa. We're talking about the Ball. Ball is definitely S tier right now, and we should be looking at that as a matter of fact. As long as Ball is going to be around, you'll be expecting a lot of boops here and there. There's not a lot of things that Yana will be able to do, especially since we're looking at a Zenyatta. Zenyatta is understandably going to be that very weak front backliner. You don't really have a lot of escape mechanism. You're gonna have to rely a lot on the Brigade in order to make things work out. What was that?
Oh, Kappa once again just going large on the ball. Has got the minefield available as well, which is going to make contesting this final 50 seconds really difficult for Nah. I think this map might be over.
This very well be over. I mean, for Seebs, they're just kind of toying around with Yana at this point in time, you know? It kind of seems as though that is the case. I mean, I don't know about that in-base kill that Kappa managed to get, but we're just going to be moving on for a little bit more as Yana, they're standing themselves up a little bit more. Dawn does have a rally and just waiting for him to really bring the rest of the team together. But look at that shot!
Yeah, that's illegal. Nami has potentially put this map over the line for Seebs. Goes down to 31 HP and actually drops to Quartz, but time of the essence now for Nah. Lots of trades back and forth. At the very least, they've got that payload push going. Issue is they're going to be running into at least another contest from Seebs. Atlas has got the nano available. Who's the target for it? Maybe Nanda.
Could very well be Nanda. Echo gonna be getting her ultimates real soon, and the overtime clock timer is not gonna be working in favor for Yana. All they gotta do is get a really quick push down, and that will be great. The whole hunt coming in from Quartz just gonna be getting a quick work out of the Echo, and the overtime goes down.
Yeah, 2-0 the scoreline. Seebs have absolutely dominated map 2 Havana, and Nah now facing potential elimination. And I guess, obviously, a grand final loss as well in the next map. But that was a very, very solid display from Seebs. If the first map was a close one, the second was anything but. Nanda, cherry on the top here with the nano blade right on the back end. Clean as a whistle. And that's map 2 done and dusted. Obara's back, and that gives you a bit of a different feeling than what map 1 did, I dare say.
Yeah, that was crazy switch of pace there. I think the key thing we have to point out is just Nanda. Nanda opened up that whole first point by going in on the Pharah, landing on top of that Baptiste, pumping in the damage. Once they broke that forward spawn, their momentum was crazy. They used ultimates really well. You know, they filtered out their ultimates, the Pharah ult, then somebody Genji getting the nano blade coming through. Like, just really phenomenal plays by their DPS players there. And I do have to question that Roadhog choice. You know, even though you can hook the Wrecking Ball to pull them in, bring them close, shut them down a little bit, it didn't really bring the value that they wanted to, because they've nerfed Roadhog. Can't one-shot anymore.
It was great as a pocket pick to start the round off for Quartz, getting that initial pick onto Mercy. But hey, maybe there was a swap in there that was required a little bit later on down at the track. Either way, not for us to say. Map 3, though, is going to be coming up in just a second. We'll head to a short break and see you in just a sec.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, this is the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
You've come this far, and you know it's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7. Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, so it would be that reunion with Tommy, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabrielle Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up," and she's, "Your friend's not, your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Oh, and then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Welcome back on into the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials. This is APAC Group B, and we're watching the Australia Grand Final, which is right now starting to head in the direction of the New Zealand Grand Final, and that is to say heading in the direction of a 3-0. Siebes is up 2-0 over Team Yenar, and we head into map 3 in just a second. Looking forward to that one, seeing whether or not Team Siebes can finish it off on King's Row. We're heading back to a few of the OG maps, I guess, in this series. But the big news heading into map number 3 is that there is going to be a little bit of a change up in terms of the team composition for Siebes. They're going to be changing one of their players out and obviously bringing someone in. So we'll be able to show you that in just a second. And the info is that Punk is coming in for Kuffer. So pretty like-for-like replacement, obviously both tank players, and I don't think that's going to really go astray for Siebes. I would still back them here, Abstract, from the position that they're in to close the series out.
With Punk in, it kind of feels like they are solidifying their spot for number 1, right? I mean, Punk and Kuffer, both of them equally as good, perhaps Punk even better to a certain extent, right? But right now, Yana, they already have issues dealing with the current lineup of Siebes, and with Punk subbing in for Kuffer, it could make quite a bit of difference, right? Is either Punk is going to make the team even greater because of, some kind of synergies here and there, or Yana just have an answer to Punk, which they don't for Kuffer.
Yeah, how do you see that one playing out, Opara? I mean, I got to say from my perspective, like I said, it's much of a muchness. I think you put Kuffer in, you put Punk in, either way, you've got a really solid tank player, and you're probably going to be able to close this series out. So I don't see it having any negative effect, if anything.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to change up too much. At least it might make Siebes a little bit more comfortable, because now they likely won't have that wrecking ball causing so much havoc. We've seen Punk play a different sort of range of tanks, so it'll be interesting to see how much better Siebes can deal with at this point.
What do you think that now has to do to sort of come back into this series? Are they just completely outmatched, or is there a way back in?
I think they've just got to play tried and true. I think they do have to do what they're good at, maybe less countering what they're going against, but just playing what they know, what they're good at, what they enjoy. And with Kings Row, it sounds like that's what they're doing. You know, they're going to a tried and true map. Everyone knows how to play Kings Row. You have your play style. So I think, if anything, this is a really good place for them to do it.
All right, well, thanks for your thoughts, Apara. We'll head into Kings Row and see whether or not this one is going to be done and dusted in 3 as well to follow suit with the New Zealand Grand Final. Abstract here on the cast with me. And look, I got to be honest, I think the deeper we've gone into this series, Abstract, the more comfortable it has gotten for Siebes. So I don't imagine that's going to change heading into this 3rd map and, dare I say, final map.
Likewise, I totally agree. Siebes did definitely seem as though in map number 1, they have a little bit of issues here and there. I wouldn't say issues, but it's more of like they had a rougher start. But when it comes down to the next game within the same map and then the second map onwards, Siebes are starting to get themselves and their feet wet, you know, rubbing shoulders with one another. They definitely have got a very good idea how they would want to play against Yana. And from that point on, they're just kind of rolling it in. Yana right now, the only thing that they gotta have to work out on is knowing the fact that Punk don't really play the ball. They should be expecting a Diva, they should be expecting a Junker Queen, or perhaps even a Zarya in this case. So which one of these is going to be the answer for them, and how exactly are they going to be playing it?
Well, we shall wait and see, but I'll tell you what, we wait and see whether or not Yana can come back into the swing of things in map 3. Hopefully that'll be the case, but not going to hold my breath. Nanda onto the trademark Genji. Doesn't have the nano boost to work with in this case, but I'm sure Nanda will be able to get a bit of work done. And straight out for that initial contest, trying to find the flank and cause a bit of a ruckus. Some damage in onto Quads to force him back. Junker Queen still leading from the front here for Yana.
Not going to be expecting much of a deal with the Junker Queen. We do not have a Suzu to kind of work with from the start of Siege, but the main thing that we're looking out for is mainly aggression. They will want to dive onto the side of Yana as much as possible with the current composition that they have. A great deflect coming in from Nanda, and that is probably going to make things out really tough for Yana as they lost Port and you.
Well, Atlas and Nami both quite low here, so there is a chance that Yana can bring this back into their own favor. Atlas does go down. Nami will survive. Who's in control of the payload at the moment? Neither team really. Siebes getting a little bit of a better push on. But you did see that taxi coming through from Don. Has got the forces back into the fight as quickly as possible.
It's all about a peeling game from both sides. Wanting to peel for them, for their team, scouting out where the Tracer is, forcing the recall on each other's Tracer. Olam as well as Nami doesn't have any of that recall to work with. So at this point in time, it really just going to be pretty neck and neck. Siebes, they're definitely going to get the robot moving as much as possible, but one of the main thing that they want to work with is jump over to the backlines, which is what we see and we're seeing from Punk as he gets himself onto Brigade as well as the Lucio.
Yeah, doing a lot of work right now, providing a lot of space. Punk and really bullying a Kraken as much as possible on that Brigitte. Eventually does get collapsed upon by a couple of the members of Nami. Suffering much the same fate. We do just see that trickle out from Siebes. They lose a couple of players here and there, and well, now it's time for Yana to have a bit of a push.
Absolute back and forth right here. None of these players have got much changes except for Nanda. Switching out the Genji for a Widow. Hoping they will be able to get himself that headshot and that big value play. This is the best time to actually play Widow, otherwise there really isn't much place that you can work around with it. This is the biggest part of the map that you're gonna have to work around with. If you do not get the value right here, then there's nowhere else you can get it. In the meantime, Rally Off coming in from the Kraken.
Yeah, Rampage is available here for Quartz, and he's gonna toss that one through. Actually only hits Nami, so really not a whole lot of value coming out from that big ultimate. Quartz is still going to try and stay in the thick of things, but at the moment, they're not finding the advantages, and Siebes are starting to snowball.
The ultimate aggression from both sides. They're just vomiting out every single ultimate that they have. At least for Yana, they still have got the Deadeye. that is one thing that they can work for themselves. Nanda is just gonna get his way over to his wall hacks real soon. But I don't imagine that it would be making that big of a difference at least. But now, the main thing that we're looking out on is Thieves. They are putting themselves on quite a bit of an advantage. They have got 42 meters in when it comes down to pushing down to the robot. But hold on a second, Nami with 2 kills right into his alley already.
Yeah, I saw Aki go down. I thought Nami with this pulse bomb's going to have to do something big to save this fight. Was able to deliver in that department, and the rest, well, as they say, is history. Yeah, now starting to get pushed back again by Punk and Nami, both combining on the bridge. And yeah, nah, well, they'll be given time to reset and will push their way back onto the payload. But it's again and again, it's Siebes getting those advantages. And while it might not be as impressive as the win that we saw in the New Zealand Grand Final, this is still looking like a really solid map from them, and it's definitely theirs to lose with just under 6 minutes left to play.
This is definitely a lot more of an interesting game, if you ask me. Both of them going head-to-head against one another. None of these teams are just winning by a long shot just yet. But hold on a second, it kind of seems as though that the fight is just going to be breaking off with 2 members down from the side of Siebes.
Yeah, Nami, once again, look towards him to try to save the day. Doesn't look like that's going to end up happening in this particular engagement. And so, yeah, I will at the very least be able to get a little bit of free push off, but certainly not enough to actually contest with Siebes yet. We've got the Reinhardt out for Punk now as well, so a little bit of a change up there.
Played right in front of the enemy's lines. They're gonna have to watch out for the Discord from the side of Yana though, but Rally's just gonna be paving the way for the side of Yana as well, as the Zenyatta out just gonna be pushing his way. Deadeye from behind, would it find any value? Doesn't seem like it will be able to do much, but zoning is what it's capable of.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've lost a couple of Yana members. Don also did just go down, so it's, well, it's definitely advantage Siebes at this point. And with just under 5 minutes left on the clock, then, yeah, it's not looking good for Yana at the moment, is it?
Yeah, not at all. I mean, when it comes down to all of the team fights combined, Siebes just naturally have got the superiority when it comes down to positioning as well as all of the balances of damage and health. But one thing that really have a massive bias to has gotta have to be Zenyatta. I have a huge bias over the Zenyatta, and I thought that this Zenyatta shouldn't be in the game because I love yet I hate Zenyatta. It's the laziest killer out there. Harmony, just stick on to someone. You don't need to care about healing anymore.
Yeah,
Just
but you get to be a DPS god.
Exactly. A supporter that does DPS and you don't have to. It's kind of like a Baptiste, but like a better Baptiste. If you think about it, Discord over to a tank. The tank gonna have to break LLS.
I've always been a bit more of a fan of Ana, to be honest. I feel like she's the most fun support to play. You gotta actually aim, right? And then you can make big plays with the sleep dart too. I mean, Nano's kind of like, whatever. I just press Q on someone, they do something cool. But the rest of the kit's really fun, in my opinion. So either way, look, Aparo, we've got you for just a second here, I think, before we jump back into game. Never mind. You're out of here. See you, mate. Don't worry about it. We'll jump back in and see what Siebes have got to say as they do once again take control of the push. A Kraken and Nu just get sent straight back to the spawn room. And of course, Don did just go down as well. So it's a pretty much full reset for Yenar. And Siebes getting on the push quite heavily.
Lost all accumulation of their ultimate from the side of the Kraken themselves. Knew how big of a change would that be? Well, we're gonna have to look at from their perspective as the rest of the members from the side of Yana just gonna be congregating themselves right onto the top point and trying to get themselves a little bit of a high ground. In the meantime, we are speaking about 1% going out again. So it's really unfortunate that we are getting this. The second DPS is just constantly going in and out. Not too sure exactly what is going on from the side of New though.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it obviously they're facing a pretty tough round right here as it is, and then to have these players disconnecting, coming back in with 0 ult charge and respawning when they might not be dead, it sort of just really throws off your tempo and throws off your momentum, and especially in a game mode like this where it really is momentum based. You have to get big pushes to win in this mode. They just can't get that momentum going at all. And so
Exactly.
it's going from bad to worse, unfortunately, for Yenar. And if they weren't losing the map already, then yeah, this is certainly not helping.
Exactly. Tempo's gone, momentum's gone. There's not much of what it can do. A Kraken just got back. He's only got 13%. So, I mean, if you're looking at a brighter note, yeah, you kind of lost 13%. But if we are talking about accumulation, there could be a chance that you would have gotten the full auto, but that could very potentially change the game entirely and, work things towards their way. But I guess the main thing that we gotta have to look out for the side of Yana is how would they be able to salvage this current situation, right? How are they supposed to get themselves back into this game? It really boils down to just grouping themselves together and really identifying what is their main problem. Is it Nami that's constantly flanking you from the side? Is it something that Quartz that's playing on a Ramatra in the Nemesis mode could work with? Do you want to immediately pop up a sound barrier to enable Quartz? That's the question.
Well, look, at the end of the day, at the very least, they've still got 4 minutes to play with, so it is not over just yet. But 70 meters has been achieved by Siebes, not to mention that checkpoint as well. So the going only really gets tougher from here for Yenar. They're basically getting spawn camped at this point, and they are going to need to pull out all the stops to win the map from here. They are going to need to have 3.5 minutes of the payload push going their way to win this. So it's pretty much now or never for Yenar.
Yep. This spawn camping is definitely going to be really tough for the side of Yenar. They have got 3 aggressors from the opponent's side with Nami, Punk, and Aki. Just working his way, putting all of the volleys in, and there's really not much that Yenar can do, except for this down barrier, hoping that they will be able to use that to gain entry over the side of Siebes. But speaking of entry, Quartz is not having a really good time, as you can see here.
No, certainly not. We'll go down to the hands of Nanda, but there is a trade in there from Olam, so at the very least, something to speak to for Yenar for but a moment. Nami going ham on the Tracer, 91% of that pulse bomb built up, waiting to try and turn the tides of yet another fight. Aki's going to force the Transcendence out just to buy a little bit more time, but does get pushed off the point anyway. And so, as far as Yenar are concerned, the push is going in the right direction for a moment.
Not anymore, unfortunately. As the robot's just going to be going towards their way, although it's just kind of like contested every now and then. And I didn't see that coming from the side of Nanda. What was that coming from Nanda? 2-man down, a Kraken and new. This is definitely going to allow Siebes to get themselves even further from this point in time. And getting the robot pushed out, that's the name of the game, and spawn camping.
Oh, Aki just gets punched in the face by Olam though, so maybe Yenar still have something to say about it, but time is starting to run out. Siebes do want to make sure they don't get too big for their own boots. Nami doing some work, but needs that grapple to get away from this Reinhardt, or perhaps just needs a bit of assistance from his teammates. Either way, won't get it. Don finds the double on the Moira. Gives us a little bit of a high. Don't mind that. But we've got under 2 minutes now for Yenar to play with, and they're still getting spawn camped.
Despite having 2-person down, Atlas, Aki, and Nanda, they still managed to get out of whatever situation that they had, and they still managed to kind of like do what they could, right? But Yenar now regained control of the robot, but they have got 70 meters to cover. And within this set of time, 1 minute and 20 seconds, they have to go on through all the way. They cannot leave the robot at any point in time. So with this initial kill onto Aki, it definitely seems like there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Between these Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, something could pop off.
It's just a Reinhardt duel, and Olam decides to play spoiler for that, sneaking a pulse bomb onto Punk. I'm not sure that it's going to matter too much at this point. 60 seconds remaining, less than that now, as Yenar do try desperately to push that robot as far as they possibly can. They might actually be able to start actually getting it going in the right direction. You can see their meterage starting to tick up, but such a long way to go. Nami got the X-ray vision on now as well, trying to find those picks on the Widowmaker, and yeah, this is just surely impossible for Yenar. The Riptire out as well.
Ooh.
Nu goes down.
Definitely 1-for-1, but a pin around the Quartz is going to be the final nail in the coffin for the side of Yenar. With 19 seconds left on the clock, what exactly can Yenar do right now? Quartz and the Kraken is back in the game together with New and Dawn. All 5 is going to be back up soon, but with that few seconds left, what can they possibly do?
Can they even get on for a touch? The contest through here from Quartz looks like it will be confirmed. So there is that at the very least, but now it is do or die for Yenar, and I just don't see them being able to get this one done from here. Seebs have found themselves at least that 1-for-1. Nu, 9 HP, desperate for some heals, can't get it, fighting hard, gets the 1-for-1 as well, again against Aki, but it is not enough. Overtime ticks away, and Seebs will win map 3. They'll win the Australia Grand Final and secure it 3-0. Convincing fashion from them. 2 3-0s tonight so far. And the question will be, will we get that from the Singapore Grand Final as well? That's coming up after this. But, well, once again, a very, very dominant display from the eventual winner of the Grand Final. And in this case, it is Seebs. Again, in line with our expectations.
Seems definitely really strong, but Yana, I thought that we'll be able to get a little bit closer, perhaps Yana getting themselves one map, but well, I guess Yana gonna have to go back to the drawing board and see what they can do for the tryouts itself, although it's not guaranteed, but you know, they have got their time to shine, perhaps something would brew for them.
Yeah, look, Apara back again. I don't know that there's really too much to say beyond what we've already said, right? This was, again, clean as a whistle, really, from Seebs. The disconnects, unfortunately, for Yenar obviously didn't help, but I think even with that in mind, like, I'm not sure how much of a difference that really would have made. It just seemed like Seebs was a bit better on the day.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was really unfortunate, and it probably gets into your head at that point when you have had those disconnects. So, yeah, I think it was an unfortunate way to end that series, but either way, I think Seebs got the results that they were sort of expecting.
Yeah, indeed. All right, well, that is the end of the Australia Grand Final. We've got one more match coming up for you guys. This will be one that Abstract is looking forward to. It's the Singapore Grand Final. Anything okay up against La Seraphim. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save who you can save.
If you come this far, then you know what's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7. Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, it would be that reunion with Tommy, you know, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabrielle Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up." And she's, "Your friend's your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Boom! And then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, she said he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you! Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, this is the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend.
I'll give Abstract a bit of time to stew here. Heading into the Singapore match, I mean, this one, look, I want to say on paper, maybe gives us the best chance of going deeper actually than a 3-0.
Yeah, I'm hoping we do see a couple more maps, at least a fourth. That would be great. And I think if anywhere can do it, I think this could be the series to bring that level there. Both teams got some really good players once again coming through. So I think this is going to be a fun match to watch. And yeah, I think we're going to be holding on to the edges of our seats.
It was a 2-1 when these teams actually played each other a little bit earlier on in the bracket. So something to be said there, maybe. I believe it was Le Seraphim that did come away with the win. But I know you're keen to jump in here, Abstract, and let us know what's the go. But between these two teams, do you reckon there is a favorite?
I would say that Le Seraphim is definitely the favorites because most of the members there, they're constantly in the scene. They are pretty active. If we're talking about Soggy, Lumi, both of them are definitely star players of the Seraphim, playing as DPS and tank respectively. So when it comes down to all of them, like Lumi, Azalea, Akame, Soggy, and Zizo, they all have got a very good idea as to how they would want to play together. They have been playing together for the longest time, and being active in contenders give them quite a bit of an edge against Anything OK.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a few names that you recognize in there as well, I dare say, Aparo?
Oh, I mean, I've definitely seen Akame around, so, but I think I've heard Azalea as well, so definitely some key players coming through as Abstract was saying.
Yeah, Soggy, a pretty well-known name within Australian contenders as well. So, little shout out to him. I think he's won a title or two, got a title under his belt. But let's take a look at Anything OK as well, because this is another one to kind of keep an eye on. They've obviously made their way through to that grand final, done the lower bracket run from the lower bracket quarterfinal. So it was in the upper bracket semis that they got knocked down by La Seraphim. 2-1 though, the result obviously abstract. It goes to show that there is a potential contest here.
I mean, Bubble Kitty as well as Vital. Both of these two are definitely the one that we got to look out for when it comes down to Anything OK. These two DPSs, they have been quite inactive, especially for Bubble Kitty. The last time we've seen him was back in 2020, while for Vital was last seen in 2022. So it's not too long ago. But when it comes down to DPS, I'm really looking out for Vital because I'm not too sure how rusty Bubble Kitty is and how much he plays in this casual free time.
All right, well, that's a good point, but need to get a little bit of an update as to what the map is going to be to start things off as well. Antarctica Peninsula once again. And, I think it's an interesting point that you're talking about these guys maybe not being super active because we're playing what is essentially a newer map. Maybe there's a bit of an element of a disadvantage there. Like if you're not really getting your reps in recently, you might not be super familiar with how the map plays out. Like, yeah, look, Overwatch is Overwatch. If you're a good player, you're still going to be a good player. But I think, Apara, obviously, if you're not getting those reps in, you may have some inconsistencies on these newer maps.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to how consistently you've been playing, like you said. So I think we will have to keep an eye out, especially for Bubble Kitty. Bubble Kitty is a classic sort of contenders player back in the day. So I do think that we're going to see them shine, just maybe not as bright as they used to be.
All right. Well, I want to get your thoughts, Abstract, on predictions. Which way are you leaning here? Is it going to be a quick series? Are you going to lean toward La Seraphim? It seems like that's the easy choice.
That would be the easy choice. As much as I want to look up for Anything OK, I gotta have to say that in the map of Antarctica, the tank playout is going to be very important, especially from the past two series we've seen. The tank play a very huge role. And the fact that Lumi is playing as a tank versus CZWC as a tank, I gotta have to root for Lumi. He's definitely a lot more mechanically skilled. And with that said, La Seraphim should be able to take this game pretty easy.
Okay, all right. Pretty easy. What does that mean? Like 3-0?
I mean, at least for this map. For this map,
okay.
they shouldn't give any point.
All right, 2-0 for the first map, and then from there we'll see as far as the rest of the series goes. Apara, what's your take? Are you expecting or hoping to see a quick series, or?
I mean, my brain tells me I want to go to sleep, but I do want to see a really close series. So I'm actually rooting for the map 5 at the moment, but it might take me a bit later, but I'm here for the Overwatch.
Yeah, look, I think if you're hoping for a fifth map, then you're probably having to cheer for Anything OK, right? I mean, we've talked about it. They did have that loss in the earlier stage of the bracket, but they were able to take a map. Shows that they can contest. I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said there. But the question will be whether or not, coming into this grand final, does the situation get to them? Or, does maybe La Seraphim just step up a little bit? Could the argument be made that during the bracket stage, you have that extra life, you're like, whatever, we come into this game not really expecting too much trouble, be a bit lax. Now that they've had that wake-up call against Anything OK, does La Seraphim come into this one a little bit stronger with a little bit more prep?
It's going to be exciting to see, that's for sure, isn't it, Abstract?
Like, I really want to root for Anything OK, but at least when it comes down to Antarctica, that's not a map that I would look out for. Maybe in the couple few maps when we are looking at push, I would want to see Anything OK doing well.
Okay. Do we have any sort of reads on which kind of compositions these guys are going to be going for? And maybe that's something you can discuss as we go into map number 1.
Very likely both of these teams are going to play very much into a dive-heavy setup. Both teams dive, regardless of the map, right? But there may be a couple of archetypes here and there. Maybe we'll be looking at Brigade Zen and Soldier on one side, or maybe we'll be looking more on the Widowmaker on the other, depending on which map we're looking out for, right? If we're looking at Junkertown, Havana, or perhaps Circuit Royale, Widowmaker is definitely something that we should see. looking at Sigmas, is definitely something we could see. But in this map itself, Ball, Winston, these things is something that we should be expecting.
Yeah, you really can just work those sort of positions really well when you've got the Winston out, you got the Wrecking Ball, everything coming through to sort of cause that displacement and take space here, especially when the point is so small. But at the same time, with how small the point is, we might see a Sigma come through. The Reinhardts have been very dominant here, but it looks like we've got a Ramatra and a Junker Queen.
Okay, so looking at the Ramatra pick coming from I Don't Think Okay, right? I mean, it's not yet confirmed that they're going to be playing this, but regardless, we definitely do have a very good idea that there are people that still prefers to play the Ramatra, Lucio, and Kiriko in one entire team comp. You use the Ramatra just for the Nemesis form and really just puts out a lot of kill pressure. And putting up on top of a Lucio, you effectively enables Ramatra with all of that Nemesis punches to make things super tough to work with, while the Tracer goes over the backline to create even more space.
Well, we're going to see how these two tanks clash here. Junker Queen versus Ramatra. And it looks like Junker Queen is just running into the backline, completely trying to chase them down. But Bubble Kitty is going to be the one to take two to their name. SGY following up onto the Ramatra there. And they should be able to clean up these last few picks. And potentially, if Anything Okay get a few, they might be able to take it back. But La Seraphim are looking strong at the moment.
That is quite a surprise coming in from the side of Anything Okay. They made this, they made the start beautiful, and they just did whatever that they gotta have to do. So at this point in time, Le Seraphim, they're just gonna have to work it out, brawl, and just brawl it out against the opponents. As you can see, Bubble Kitty is just going downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. Both supports taken out immediately in that fight, and that does just lead to a complete collapse. Junker Queen, no healing to keep them alive, and then, yeah, the DPS just had no chance. That was phenomenal plays from Bubble Kitty.
Well, one thing that we know, Bubble Kitty, yes, he has been inactive when it comes down to competitive scene since 2020, but this guy is still working his way around, and he is still one heck of a beast. But one thing's for sure, Le Seraphim's Azalea is really hailed when we're looking at his Tracer, but he hasn't really quite popped that off just yet. As for now, we're just looking at Soggy making his way in, Vital down.
Soggy just going in on the Genji, and that's what we're talking about with that Lucio, the speed to just rush over everyone. There goes the Ramatra, there goes Paper Bag. Nobody's living through this Genji right now. Soggy cleaning that house.
Like I said before, Genji is not necessarily in a very good spot at this point in time. In fact, one of the lowest tiered heroes within the DPS region. But the players here, they are just so mechanically skilled, and they are so comfortable when it comes down to the Genji that they can definitely still make it work.
Oh, absolutely. When you're good at a DPS, you want to run it. The Annihilation, though, is what's being run right now. Sound Barrier to try and keep the team alive, and Soggy and Lumi putting in the work to make sure Ramatra's not getting the value they deserve here. Bubble Kitty is trying to follow up, and the Lucio's falling so low, but can't quite get that confirmed. Bubble Kitty has to take it. Sound Barrier just keeping Ramatra up, but Soggy's going to clean them out. And there we go. Such a back and forth fight. Bubble Kitty just needs to take out Lumi here now, and they will get the point flip.
And just right off the bat, Anything Okay has expended a total of 3 ultimates from themselves to try to take the point down for themselves. Look at that, Vital! He's popping off! One until another. Zizo's down first, then Azalea's gonna be down next, and perhaps we could even see Soggy going down, but it doesn't seem like that is gonna be the case. 55 seconds onto the timer already, and that is Anything Okay that is almost catching up to Le Seraphim's control of the point.
Yeah, those are some really good picks, you know, just taking them early so that you build up a little bit of time. But now, a Kitsune rush coming out from both sides. Blade as well. Soggy just going in deep, taking out Vital. Can they find a second? Gonna go for the Ramatra. Ramatra falling low, but does manage to get saved by a boop from Ayako there. Unfortunately, Ayako does fall. Now Soggy finally getting the pick onto Ramatra. And that point, it's been so back and forth, Abstract.
Definitely a big blade coming in from Le Seraphim. Soggy knows exactly what he gotta do. He just went straight in over to the backlines and dealt with everyone else while completely ignoring CZWC onto the Ramatra, leaving the Ramatra for a little while later. The main thing right now is just we gotta have to wait for the Annihilation out for Ramatra, and that is one of the key ultimates that we should look out for. Once the Annihilation's out, speed boost, that's what we want to see. But hold on a second, is we're just going to be looking at a division of the map set up by Azalea. The entire team just going to be rushing it right down onto Anything Okay with Ayako taken down first.
Yeah, Soggy taking out Ayako early, using the photon barrier to their advantage, and there was a potential for a back cap to try and get it swapped over, but doesn't come through. Lumi trying to get aggressive. Overtime now, sound barrier has to come out. The Seraphim just wanting to get these last few picks. Out comes the Rampage as well. They want to confirm this fight and confirm it well, and that is exactly what they do.
Definitely tough plays to play for Anything Okay. Bubble Kid is down, almost getting himself the bomb. The pulse bomb would have been great for that upcoming fight, but they just ran out of time. 86 is to 100%. Well, Anything Okay, getting themselves at 86% is definitely a lot higher than originally expected. So let's be honest here. Anything Okay, they can definitely hold a candle against Lesser FM.
Yeah, they're definitely showing that they are here to play and they are up to the par of Le Seraphim, which is really exciting to see. You know, Bubble Kitty and Vital, like you said, vital players to come through and watch, and it's working out really well. But we've also got to talk about, like, Ayako. Ayako's been playing really well on that Lucio, making sure that they're booping away anyone rushing down sort of CWC, all those sorts of players. So really fun to watch Anything Okay.
Yep, Anything Okay is not going to be changing out their composition. They're still going to be sticking to their guns and leaving it to that. While Le Seraphim, they are almost mirroring Anything Okay with that Ramatras, Lucio, and Kiriko trio, while adding in their own spice with the Junkrat as well as the Soldier. How is this going to be panning out? Well, we shall see, because there's so much projectile just going to be flying through. With Bubble Kitty getting himself a total of 2, well, CZWC is already going to be taken down. So it's kind of like a 1-for-2 trade so far. But the thing is, Anything Okay does not have a tank in front of them.
Yeah, that was a really good opening couple of picks for Bubble Kitty, and they're searching for a couple more. They want to clean up this fight and take it for themselves, and focusing down the Ramatra is critical here. However, that Kiriko keeping the health up. So is putting in a lot of work here. Now we do see CWC back in the fight, but Bubble Kitty falling. This is actually starting to turn the way of Le Seraphim. They managed to wait it out, get those couple of picks, and now Soggy all on the board on that Soldier, cleaning up the fight.
We are looking at a change now. Azalea's on the Tracer and Soggy is now on the Soldier. With a great hit scan, great hit scan players from the side of Le Seraphim. Azalea and Soggy should be able to take down their opponents pretty darn nicely. Even if Ayako is trying to thread himself all across and around the point, that will definitely not escape the eyes of Azalea and Soggy. Right now, CZWC is back on point. He's trying to push everyone in the way. This Vortex is just going to zone them out pretty nicely, while Soggy's HP is dropping all the way down low, but yet, he still managed to stay alive until now.
Oh man, they really wanted to take out Soggy, and they got it in the end. Ramatra battle going the way so far of CWC until Azalea takes them out there. Now it is going to come down to Bubble Kitty alone on that point. You probably just want to try and get back to a couple of your friends, but I guess your friends are turning up to try and help this fight. We do see Lumi hiding so low, and actually they're going to get aggressive onto it. Lumi getting into the fight, doing so many good punches. Nemesis form can be devastating. They do manage to clean up Lumi in the end, and these fights have been so back and forth chaotic. So far now we have Kitsune Rush coming out.
It really just paves the way for the rest of the members for the side of Anything Okay. Paperback and Bubble Kitty may be taken down by CZWC. Ayako as well as Vital. They're just right back in here. The Annihilation was almost available for CZWC to pop up, but he went down right after that came out.
Le Seraphim are looking so much stronger right now. They're playing so perfectly, stalling out the point every single second they can, and it's working to a treat. There's that Annihilation. From Lumi this time. CWC is going to respond with the own, but there's attack visor as well, and Soggy and Lumi just burning through the competition, and I think they're going to confirm the first map for Le Seraphim.
Dropping every single ultimate Le Seraphim has. They completely dominated Anything Okay in the second round of this map. Understandably, it is a very, very disgusting ultimate play. Every single one of them have got their ultimate. In the meantime, for the opponents, they don't have got the sound barrier to even counteract against the Annihilation. So it's pretty much expected. they just went all out.
Yeah, that was really fun to watch that match there. And we do have Elfish back. How did you find that, Jordan?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I thought it was going to be a little bit closer after that first round. It seemed like, anything okay. They're in here with a chance, but La Seraphim just absolutely owned them in the second round. It sort of gives me the feeling that La Seraphim is quite a momentum-based team, right? Once they get the ball rolling a little bit, they can really run with it and just sort of clean house in whatever situation they find themselves in. So, look, 1-0 for La Seraphim. You were right in your prediction so far, Abstract, that maybe they're looking like the better team. I'm kind of convinced. Couple of nice moments. Bubble Kitty, I thought, had a couple of really cool moments there for Anything Okay. But, yeah, unfortunately, just not really enough being put together for them in map number 1. So hopefully things will change in map 2, which is where we're going to be headed in just a second. We will take a short break first, though, but we'll be back for the Singapore Grand Final map number 2 in just a second.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, this is the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
If you've come this far, then you know what's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7.
Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, so it would be that reunion with Tommy, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabrielle Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up," and she goes, "Your friend's not, your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Oh, and then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Welcome back on into the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials. It's APAC Group B, and we're into the last couple of rounds maybe of our evening. We do have the Singapore Grand Final for you at the moment, and it's currently 1-0 for La Seraphim over Anything Okay. Are we going to be following suit with Australia and New Zealand headed in the direction of a 3-0. Well, based on that first map, maybe the answer is yes. But let's take a look at what our second map is going to be. Circuit Royale, first time tonight. We'll get that one for you. Abstract, what do you reckon? I mean, was there enough there for Anything OK to give you a bit of hope in their chances of taking a map here?
I gotta have to say, that could be a very good chance here. We're looking at Circuit Royale, definitely a huge map. When it comes down to dive, it really depends on how both of these teams were to play, right? I would want to see, once again, the Sigma, the Widowmaker coming in. And if Anything OK is able to play that well and really just bring down LeSeraphim's own Widowmaker, I think that they should be able to create good enough space for them to even push out the payload as far as they could.
Opara, have you got the same faith? It seems like to me it's going to be a relatively one-sided grand final. We'll head into map 2 and you can let me know what you think.
Yeah, I like to play devil's advocate, but it's starting to get quite scary here for Anything OK. But I mean, a map like Circuit Royale is a complete change of pace here. There's so many long sight lines that you can work at. You do kind of have to play a completely different play style. So we'll see the Widows coming out most likely, especially on that second point. We'll see snipers like Widow, Hanzo, Sojourn. That high ground defense is really good. So yeah, I think if anything, Anything OK could potentially bring quite a strong performance here.
This is definitely Anything OK's pick when it comes down to Circuit Royale. I do want to see exactly what would they bring onto the board here. Well, talking about Bubble Kitty as well as Vital, both of these are definitely DPS that's on crack. Both of them are strong, and we've seen Bubble Kitty's own Azalea. He knows what he wants to do, and such, if he does want to play something along the lines of Surgeon, then we should be able to see him just ripping people's heads off just with a single laser shot.
And there we go. We've got some Widows sort of peeking out on the field at the moment. Yoko and Vital both looking like they want to play it. I'm really excited to see these Widow duels. They're gonna be a lot of fun coming out. But do you think we're gonna see that Hog pick stay the same, or do you think that's gonna swap off?
I really hope that they swap it off. I don't think that they will want to play this Hog. I can't think of a reason why they would want to play the Hog, to be very honest. While LeSeraphim, they're playing pretty much the book of what verticality death ball is. Sigma, Baptist, Zenyatta, and Widow. They all just complement each other so well. They will be able to set up from far range, and they will be able to work onto the front lines and the back lines very effectively. As you can see, Anything OK, they are definitely going to have a lot of issues, especially when the Discord is right onto the heads of Sigma. The best that it can come from them is literally the Mercy. Mercy does have a new change where anyone is below 50%, they'll be able to get a lot of health in. But because of the Discord, that's not going to play a very big part.
Oh, what a shot from Vital right there, just down the sideline searching for it. And you can see Anything OK actually taking a bit of the push here. They went to the Sigma. Obviously, they now have Tuata in for CZWC. So it's good to see these changes come through. Cheeky spot here.
So with the Sigma in, with Vital onto the Widowmaker, Bubble Kitty right onto the Surgeon, makes sense that they will be able to do it well, but the only thing that they have got it different is that they have a Mercy in place of a Baptiste. So they do not have the regenerative burst anymore, they do not have got the immortality field, but of course they do have a very constant amount of healing. But in the meantime, we're just going to be looking at a duel between the Sigma, and it kind of seems as though Soggy went off to the back line and popped right off. Destroyed everyone from the side of Anything OK.
Oh my gosh, Soggy, what are you doing to them right there? Yeah, you're right. There was the Sigma battle, but Soggy didn't care. Soggy just said, okay, you Sigmas, do whatever you're doing. I'm going to get everyone else, and just completely popped off there. Now they're going to start searching for a couple more potential early picks, but Bubble Kitty wanting to get aggressive, wanting to take them down early. But the Sigma shields, they're just so critical to shutting down these fights, making sure that Sigma gets, the snipers get no value. Lumi, however, getting taken down early. This could be huge for Anything OK. They want to start pushing in and getting the value. Bubble Kitty knowing that you don't want to fight that Genji too hard there, but they're going to take them out. And here we go, first point capped to Anything OK.
great progress from the side of Anything Okay. They with the payload already on the first point, and they are pushing their advantage onto Lesser FM, pushing them all the way backwards. This is gonna be a tough point to play from this point onwards, but it kind of seems as though Lesser FM, they're sticking to their guns and they're keeping to their current composition. This will be tough, let's be honest here. But with the single pickoff coming from the side of Zizo onto Vital, that could very potentially change the game around.
Oh man, these picks are just coming through for the Seraphim right there. And I don't know if you saw it, but Lumi tried to pop a Gravitic Flux but got bolted by Tuata. And now we can just see the Seraphim still run over everyone, even without the Flux. What? Soggy going in for those last 2 kills on the DPS, and amazing to see, even though the Flux was used, they still got the value out of that fight.
With the payload almost halfway point now, and there's 3 minutes and 15 seconds left from the side of Anything Okay, they can definitely regroup themselves and see what exactly they would want to do onto the next round. When it comes down to ultimate economy, we have got 3 in the hands of Lesser FM. Anything Okay have got 3 as well. So a lot of these key ultimates that we should be able to expect, but the main thing is an engagement coming in from Tutao with a quick little out.
There's our Gravitic Flux coming out, shut down by the Transcendence. However, Bubble Kitty doesn't care. Bubble Kitty's just going to get their kills with the overclock. There goes Zexo, and now Soggy going down. This will be Anything Okay's fight to win here. They're just going to run down, see if they can get any extra stragglers.
Definitely their game to win right now for Anything Okay. It's just rolling the payload, and nothing from the side of Lesser FM is just going to be stopping them as they work their way onto the second point with no contest whatsoever.
Yeah, look at that. Second point taken, and now you're going to be feeling good because that second point can be quite hard to attack. So now they want to get a couple more extra picks, and Bubble Kitty's trying to get aggressive here. But the defense of the Seraphim, they know how to push in aggressively to stop the push of Anything Okay. Now they've got that advantage in position here. Transcendence to once again save from the Flux, but the Flux gets bolted again. These Fluxes are just getting shut down left, right, and center. Paper Bag gonna take Soggy down with the pistol whipping there. You gotta feel good when you take a Genji out as Mercy, and now Vital and Bubble Kitty just once again getting those last few picks.
Gonna have to say that Paper Bag is doing a great job as the Mercy, just constantly flying by one after another and really keeping a massive uptime when it comes down to the heals, or perhaps even when it comes down to the damage department. With 3 minutes left onto the clock, the sub 3 minutes, Vital just slowly getting his way onto the side of Seraphim and just straggling them as much as possible. This is the toughest part of the push right now, and they're gonna have to group themselves up. As Seraphim, they're slowly gonna be losing out this round if they allow Anything Okay to even get the 3rd point.
Here comes the blade from Soggy. Is gonna find 2.
Oh!
Can it get the 3rd? There it is. And there's a 4th. That is a team kill thanks to Soggy's blade.
A single blade that will destroy the entirety of Anything Okay. And from this point on, the tempo and momentum from the side of Anything Okay may very well be shattered, to say the very least. Seraphim would now be able to push their advantage just by a little bit, get themselves onto the high ground, but it does seem like as though that's not working.
Yeah, look at that immediate turnaround. Bubble Kitty just overclocking and taking that fight. Vital having to come through and help out as well, as Bubble Kitty did get taken down, but man, they just turned that fight around in an instant.
Tutao Okay. This man is built a little bit different when it comes down to playing onto the Sigma, but perhaps we'll be able to get a little bit of a better understanding once the sides are swapped. Lumi, on the other hand, does seem like he's having a little bit of a problem, but when it comes down to the duel between the Sigmas, it is fair to say that the Sigma with a pocketed Mercy will do a lot better when it comes down to the healing department.
Oh man, the Flux nearly capped that point, and they are still getting the picks they need. Soggy and Yoko take it down. It's just the Zen on point right now. Flux coming through by Lumi. Can it get shut down? It's going to get shut down by a Transcendence at least. And now it's just Lumi trying to keep the stall going. Soggy back on the Tracer, trying to go deep, take out some of the supports, but they aren't going to touch. And that's going to be 1 minute 11 on the board for Anything Okay.
When it comes down to the Graviton Flux and the Transcendence, they're always gonna be played for one another. So let's be honest here, when it comes down to Seraphim trying to work with anything, or perhaps even Anything Okay, we shouldn't expect much value from the Flux. All in all, that transcendence from the side of Le Seraphim will always be used at the right time and it's really just reserved for the Flux. And that must definitely be really annoying for the side of Tuatao.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those battles of like, I've either got to land this boulder or we lose Transcendence, but ultimately Transcendence is going, as you said, going to be used to counter the Flux, so they're both nothing ults at that point, but if you can keep the Transcendence for a blade, that's really handy, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Seraphim try take this attack now. They're still opting to go for the Genji. Meanwhile, Anything Okay, running this double sniper that's worked wonders for them so far.
I do want to see what they can play around here this time. Le Seraphim, they have opted to get out of that Widowmaker game. Soggy decided to play and stick onto that Genji. I mean, it did manage to work pretty decently just now, getting himself the 4K with the Dragon Blade. Perhaps this time we'll be looking at a 5K and very effectively push the payload even faster than Anything Okay could.
Here we go, both teams out and about. This payload is moving, and it looks like Anything Okay are happy to give them a little bit of space because they want to play this long sight line, and oh my gosh, Yoko found by Tuatao. So that is just huge to start off this fight for Anything Okay. If they can get a couple more picks here, which it looks like they're going to chase down Lumi. Yep, Lumi's stuck on a staircase. Can't do too much there, and yeah, good start for Anything Okay.
Definitely a rough start for Le Seraphim. Lumi's down. When it comes down to Ultimate Economy, Anything Okay has got the upper hand. Vital that's playing on the Widow is definitely going to be fighting against his arch nemesis. That is going to be the Genji. But Ayako comes in play. Gets a headshot right down to the Zoggy. Pretty done effectively. And now Le Seraphim will have one DPS shot.
Here we go, yeah, they're just gonna play out that time, try build up a little bit of ultimate percentage until your Genji is back here. The Vital is searching for these heads. Soggy now back, and you can see Yoko just trying to pressure Vital out of that position, that key position that's causing so much chaos for Le Seraphim here, and they've gotten onto the high ground, but Vital again, taking out Baptiste. Yoko now falls to Bubble Kitty. Lumi's doing a lot of work, but is it gonna be enough? Even Mercy wants to try and take them down, but finally, Le Seraphim are looking good for this push.
It's all about the backlines. Deal with the backlines, and the tank can't do nuts from that point onwards. Le Seraphim has finally taken control of the payload and getting that escorted onto the next point. From this point onwards is also gonna be pretty darn tough. But looking at how they have been building themselves up, I think that they will have one failed push just because of the outlets that's available from the side of Anything Okay, or perhaps a fight that will run out for so long that every single one of the members from the side of Le Seraphim will have their ultimate uptime.
Here comes the Flux, dodges the boulder, but there's a lot of damage, and I don't think they connected onto anyone because of the amount of damage that was coming out. So another Flux down the drain so far here. But Nano is ready and available. It didn't come to much, unfortunately, but they did manage to get the push anyway, and Yoko is going to do this cleanup here. Soggy is taken out, but Yoko can do the work instead.
Not much of a big play when it comes down to the Nano. We were pretty much hoping for a Nano Blade, but the Blade didn't really come in fast enough, and the Nano was just coming down short really quickly. So there's really not much point of Soggy doing that. So the next thing you gotta have to do is just reserve it a little bit longer and wait for the best time to actually pop it off. I mean, let's be fair here. Soggy did manage to get a 4K without a Nano Blade after all, so we can pretty much keep that in mind and see how that's going to be working out for Le Seraphim.
Oh, what a start to that fight. Bubble Kitty just going in with the overclock. Lumi's gone, Azalea as well. Taking 4! Soggy and God, can they get Yoko to clean up this fight? Yoko does just get away, but Bubble Kitty showing us they may not play as much, but they're still very good.
Bubble Kitty, this guy! His, whatever he had for lunch, I'm having that tonight. But whatever it is, Anything Okay, they are just working their way. This guy is not stopping, and all of his laser shots are just so darn on point.
Oh man, cat supremacy right now. Bubble Kitty going off here, taking out Yoko once again. And look at I Anything Okay Go. They're using that high ground advantage to a T. And this is what I talk about. This point can be so hard to push, especially when a team utilizes that high ground.
Well, Lesser of him now, they are having a big issue. Anything Okay has been pushing Lesser of him back so much, and they are constantly losing in duels and losing in all the team fights that we are looking out for. 3 ultimates up for Anything Okay, while meanwhile Lesser of him has got 4. Perhaps this flux is gonna change some game here.
Oh, Soggy going in, taking out 2. That's just pure Genji mechanics there for you. Soggy is giving us a masterclass in Genji, and they managed to take that fight.
Worked amazingly. Anything Okay has finally lost in the fight, and Lesser of him breached their defenses, making their way over to the second point. But unfortunately, we're not going to get the gratification of them going to the second point right now, as the game is pretty much paused real quickly. But from this time onwards, we can just kind of like go for a quick little rundown, taking a look at the ultimate economies and have a really good idea when it comes down to offensive and defensive. Lesser of him has got 1 for 1. Anything Okay have got both and 2 defensive ultimates.
Yeah, it is looking like we're probably going to be keeping an eye on this blade from Soggy here, and I assume Ayako will pop the Transcendence to counter it here. They should know that Lumi's just used the Flux recently, so they should know it's not available on the board. But if Soggy can still get a couple of picks quickly before Transcendence comes out, or potentially find some targets that aren't in the Transcendence, they should be able to get this cap pretty well.
The main thing is Ayako needs to go down before the Nano Blade even comes out, or else you're just throwing out 2 ultimates for 1, and that is of course not that much of a valuable trade. Anything Okay has been on a climb, and they are on a tear. In fact, they are man on a mission, like they're literally possessed, and they are not stopping.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really fun to watch how Anything Okay are performing now. Elfish, what's your opinions on the match so far?
Oh, this one's a pretty tight one, isn't it? Right? You got what, like a minute and a half or a little bit over that for point B here. If that gets capped out, I can still see a world where the map gets finished with time available, and then we do head into the OT. But yeah, I mean, it sort of feels like it's kind of hanging on a knife's edge at the moment. So there's a lot to think about. Looks like we've got a bit of extra time to think about that as well. So we'll take a short break here, ladies and gents. But don't go too far away. Hopefully we'll be jumping back into the map in just a sec.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
Wow.
Attention passengers, the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
You've come this far, and you know it's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7.
Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, so it would be that reunion with Tommy, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabriel Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up," and she's, "Your friend's not, your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" Oh, and then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite. Wow.
Attention passengers, this is the final call for flight.
Wait, is that a phone? Look at the performance, the graphics. That thing's a gaming machine. A new challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her. You can save her.
If you've come this far, then you know what's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
G'day and welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials. Appreciate your patience. We've just had some issues, as you can probably guess, but working through them. Hopefully we'll be back into game relatively quickly. Scoreline currently, Le Seraphim 1-0 over Anything OK in the Singapore Grand Final. But with that said, map 2 is actually going pretty good for Anything OK. So maybe there's a world that ties up. Maybe there's a world still where we go to 2-0. We have to wait and see as we head into game. Let's jump back on into it. It's Circuit Royale and Le Seraphim on the attack, trying to capitalize on an okay defense.
Here we go.
Yikes.
And what we were talking about before was a Xenult ready for the Blade, but unfortunately that Xenult is now gone. So we might be seeing maybe a Valkyrie just try to shut down this Blade, but Soggy is going to have a lot of free reign. However, Bubble Kitty opening up early, taking out Azalea. It's not going to be enough though, as that point goes to Le Seraphim.
And let's not forget that Tua Tao is not exactly back since that previous fight. Maybe he's just gonna like waiting for everyone to respawn until then he will come back out. But because of number one, the lack of Zen out, and number two, the lack of the front lines, Le Seraphim took that round by the enemy's throat and took it really fast. So now Le Seraphim didn't even have to expend a single ultimate just to get themselves to the second point, and from this point onwards there could be a very high chance that Le Seraphim is just going to steamroll forward.
Yeah, you can see Soggy already building up for the Blade. The Nano's gonna come out here, and there's that Blade going for the Zen, going for the there goes the Sigma even, there's the Mercy, and trying to clean up with the Widow. That is just a beautiful Blade. Soggy is great at them, and I mean, yeah, this payload free to just glide on through.
That's the map awareness that we are talking about from the side of Soggy. But before the game even ended, it kind of seems as though Tua Tao immediately changed himself over to the ball, and now they're just going to be wrecking over as they immediately get a stun down onto Paperbag. But unfortunately, they could not touch the point, or rather the payload, in time to stop the payload from moving through.
Yeah, that was quite a bit of favor due to those ults being lost, everything like that. Soggy just got to go on a complete spree right there. But it was really fun to watch either way. Very impressive gameplay from Soggy and mechanical skill. I guess one thing that you kind of almost would think is Soggy is almost like a sponge here, absorbing the kills one after another.
Soggy is just going downtown, right? It kind of seemed as though he couldn't execute that Nano Blade. Being in the front line, everyone literally have got eyes on him, but somehow he still managed to make it work. Mercy got a quick little dive away from Zenyatta just to avoid a collateral, but in the end of the day, Soggy still found it. He have got great map awareness. He knew exactly where it's going around. That pretty much just shows how familiar he is right here in this map.
Now, what do you think about this Reinhardt swap from Lumi? They obviously wanting to play up close and personal to try and shut down this attack from Anything OK. But yeah, interesting call.
Wow. I don't think that we should be saying anything about this right now, because this is definitely something new. Anything OK, they don't know anything just yet. They're going for a 2-2 split with 2 in the middle and 2 on the side. And just from that, they immediately popped one person in. Tao Tao is swapped out for CZWC for some reason. So they didn't have got a tank in the front lines as the doors opened. One person's taken out, which is Bubble Kitty. So that is going to stall Anything OK even more, even when they effectively will be able to play in the front lines a lot faster and a lot easier.
Yeah, that definitely, it seems like Tua Tao's computer or internet is struggling there, so it does sound like we may be moving into another pause. Welcome back, Elfish.
Hello, how's it going?
We're
trying to get a grasp on what's going on. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening at the moment, so I don't want to say exactly where we're at this point. So let's just look. I tell you what. While there's so many things to figure out, I think we should just head to a quick break and we'll get it all sorted. We'll come back to you, let you know exactly what's going on as soon as possible.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
challenger. Is that Faker? That man's a gaming legend. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. And here we go!
This is your chance. You keep her alive. Save her, you can save her.
You've come this far, and you know what's out there.
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Kia ora whanau, that guy's Energy here, joined by the always excellent Improvise as we continue our review of The Last of Us, now streaming on Neon. This week we are at episodes 6 and 7. Yes.
Careful who you put your faith in. The only people who can betray us are the ones we trust.
With episode 6, we meet a precocious old couple in the middle of nowhere who are hoping to guide Joel and Ellie on their continued journey as they guide them towards the River of Death. The River of Death is all tied to Jackson, where we finally reunite with Joel's brother Tommy, played by Gabrielle Luna, and it's excellent. A little bit of normalcy, some would say.
Yeah, and also you see Ellie be a kid again, and learning learning bits and pieces that she wouldn't have learned as a QZ.
Towards the end of that episode, they have to head out on the road again, as always, because they're trying to get Ellie across the country.
We went a little bit deeper with Ellie, and we understood exactly what makes her tick and why she is the way she is. Top moments. Hit me with one, man.
Episode 6, it would be that reunion with Tommy, Joel just grabs him. He's like, oh, there's my brother. He's got long hair. And I just really enjoy the way Gabrielle Luna actually plays the character. I think he plays him phenomenally.
And then on the other episode, on episode 7, I think when they're at the gym and they're jogging, and she's like, "I'll beat you up," and she's, "Your friend's not, your friend's not here." And she, "What'd you say?" "Oh!" And then so that was quite cool.
Yeah, and then it ties into the corporal kind of acknowledging those other parts of Ellie, right?
Yeah, he sees the same things that Joel sees and tries to speak to her that there's some leadership in you and there's some potential, but you've just got to figure it out. And it's the same that Joel sees as well. So it's pretty cool. I like that scene.
It's now streaming on Neon. You can grab yourselves a 7-day trial by going to neontv.co.nz. But as always, I have been that guy, Xenojack, joined by the always excellent Improvise. Until next time, ka kite.
Do something! Let the Kitsune guide you!
G'day guys, welcome back to the Overwatch World Cup 2023 trials. This is APAC Group B. We're in the Singapore Grand Finals. I have some bad news, I suppose. If you're an I Anything OK fan, definitely bad news. If you're a LesSeraphim fan, maybe it's good news. But for everyone in general, probably not ideal. I Anything OK had to forfeit that last map. They made a player change mid-game, which they're not allowed to do. Obviously, given the circumstances, you can kind of understand what they were trying to do there. There were some lag issues, DC issues, whatever. Get a player in, see what you can do, but not allowed. So we're heading into map number 3 now with the scoreline 2-0 to LesSeraphim. And if that's not bad enough for I Anything OK, obviously moving into Colosseo, it sort of feels like there's got to be some kind of tilt now for I Anything OK, right? It really is a difficult situation to work with given the circumstances here for I Anything OK. So this now is where they're really going to have to dig deep, find some mental fortitude. Hopefully they can make that player change going into game number 3 and, just go on from there without any issues and play their best.
Mm-hmm. So at this point in time, we are going to move from the past, look at the future, or rather go into the present. We are going to be looking at Colosseo, and of course, it's going to be a push map. I'm going to be pretty much on 50-50 for this one. I Anything OK has showed their dominance in the previous game, and I'm really excited to see what they will be able to bring onto the table against LesSeraphim in this Colosseo map.
Well, the question is, can they stave off the third 3-0 of the night? We'll jump into map 3 and find out if LesSeraphim can get it done here, or if I Anything OK can force us through to a 4th.
This is going to be an interesting match to see. Anything okay definitely are going to be fighting their hardest. And I mean, if Bubble Kitty keeps playing at the level that they're playing, we could see a bit of back and forth. We do still see a lot of value from those sniper types like Sojourn, like Widow, like Hanzo. So if Bubble Kitty keeps bringing that pressure, it might go anything okay's way.
It could very much possibly be, right? LetsSeraphim, I think it's relatively fair for us to assume that Soggy is probably gonna play his Genji. In the previous game, he's definitely paid quite a bit of dividends, and he has been doing very well. So the Nano Blade is definitely something that I think doesn't really have an answer to, aside from the Zenyatta. So if anything, they're gonna have to play around the Zenyatta. So what exactly they're gonna go for here? Well, we're gonna have to see.
Yeah, no, interesting. Soggy currently on the Soldier. We have seen Soggy do really well on Soldier as well on Antarctica Peninsula, so we might see that come through here. Meanwhile, CZWC on that Wrecking Ball, which we've also seen shine in a couple of different matches. So if they commit to these hero picks, this could be a really interesting match to behold.
As now the clock ticks down. 20 seconds in until the robot is unlocked. The members of Anything OK has already been setting themselves up and preparing to go and rumble. While meanwhile, CZWC is already right within the halls and is just working his way to really obstruct the players of Anything OK and try to see whether he's able to create any more space.
Yeah, trying to roll Yoko into Anything OK's team. CZWC can't quite confirm the kill here, but they do have robot presence right now. Pushbot slightly in Anything OK's favor. Question is, can the picks come through, especially with that pressure onto CZWC? Does manage to get back to the team to stay alive, but Yoko with that knife pulling them back in. No picks. Oh, there we go. Ayako taking out Soggy early. It's a good start. Lumi, though, following up, taking out Vital. Yoko working hard to get a couple more picks, and now LetsSeraphim are looking good on the board.
It definitely seems as though they're having a little bit of difficulty on keeping CZWC's hamster up time. They just don't really have got the front line that can really work against the Yoko. I mean, fortunately, they do have got the Kiriko, so at least when it comes down to any of the anti-heal coming in from... Oh wait, they do not have the anti-heal. So at least they do have the Kiriko. Zuzu will be able to keep them up online as much as possible. But right now, CZWC is really getting a little bit of a danger in here, while Lumi is just working his way onto the Genji, very close to getting himself the Dragon Blade. And CZWC, well, I don't think that is gonna go anywhere far.
Yeah, Lumi does manage to take down CZWC, is going to opt to go back to the team. Bubble Kitty finally finishing off Yoko there, and that was a good fight for Anything OK. They managed to get those supports out early and could push the bot, but because of how long it took, most of the team's grouped up now. Blade coming out from Lumi, trying to see how many they can get. Not quite as good as the Soggy Blade, but it's still going to cause enough chaos to push Anything OK back.
Yep, it's all about the zoning that Lumi managed to pull off for his team, but unfortunately not quite enough, if I would say. Anything OK currently do not have Bubble Kitty at this point in time, while LetsSeraphim is just going to be pushing everyone else off as much as possible. As you can see right now, Kitsune Rush is just going to pave the way forward.
Vital trying to get as much value from the Kitsune Rush as possible. Lumi getting aggressive, trying to deflect some of those shots. Sound barrier now, you know you can get aggressive, and overclock from Vital is gigantic. There you go, Lumi taking out, trying to find Yoko, but Yoko and Zexo actually taking out two on their own there, evening up this fight for LetsSeraphim, and if they can keep that going, they might be able to get a little bit more push bot distance.
Yoko having a little bit of difficulty when it comes down to the front line. CZWC is super tanky and they're just holding the opponents right by the throat. With a Tracer together with the ball, the front lines and the pack lines of LetsSeraphim is definitely gonna get a little bit of an issue. One by one, it kind of seems as though we're getting a bit of a good trade between these two teams. The robot is getting quite a bit of difficulty as well, deciding who should be pushing for.
Yeah, that robot's definitely asking which way are we going. Finally, Anything OK, kind of winning that really long drawn out fight and hopefully getting it to a point where they get the value. I do think LetsSeraphim though might be able to get in just on time.
Perhaps, I suppose. Soggy very quickly. They managed to bring one down from the side of Vital, but unfortunately he himself is just going to be traded off. Kitsune Rush, open things up, but it doesn't seem like we are gonna get much dividends just yet.
Just pushing the enemy team away. Anything okay. Popping that minefield onto the push bot, trying to get them off so that we can potentially just keep pushing. Here we go. Trying to find a couple of good picks. Yoko searching, but Zexo is going to be taken down by the minefield. Didn't see it. Just behind them, and with Bubble Kitty taking out Lumi as well, it is looking like Le Seraphim might be able to try and get this point back now.
They are definitely going to be trying to go for that, as the robot is just going to be moving backwards, and it kind of seems as though, oh, Bubble Kitty just gonna go straight down, but never mind, because Vital, they managed to come right back in for a quick little trade on that forward. Anything okay right now? They do have a good defensive ultimate coming from the side of Iocos to really counter against the Dragon Blade, if that is going to be the way. So a good trade between both of which. The Dragon Blade pops up, Lumi takes Vital down as he's just gonna be moving on forward right next to Kiriko. 2-man down with a single ultimate. I would call value on that.
Yeah, 100%. That's what you want out of your Genji Blades, and so far, it is now looking like Le Seraphim gonna start taking some value in this push here. Question is can anything okay sort of group up and take another fight? The point lead is now on Le Seraphim, as it looks like CZWC is just harassing anybody they can. Out comes the Kitsune Rush.
All they gotta do is just be very aggressive and very annoying, as Anything Okay pops off immediately with the pulse bomb as well as the sound barrier. Zizo gets himself two at this point in time, and Le Seraphim, they're just pushing Anything Okay away as much as possible, with Vital being the last member down and taken down by Yoko.
What a just solid fight for Le Seraphim, and now they've really got that lead. Halfway point here, Abstract. This could be huge.
Is definitely going to be huge. I mean, Anything Okay, all they got to do is just be as annoying as they can. Working around with the ball and the tracer combo is what they would aspire to want to have, and whenever they have the minefield, that's when they would take the game over.
Soggy trying to take this fight with Attack Visor, chasing down CZWC, but actually they're gonna take Soggy out here. From behind a rampage by Yoko. Is it going to be enough? Can they clutch out this fight with the help of a Kitsune Rush coming through by Zexo? There might be enough. There goes Bubble Kitty. Lumi finds Paper Bag, and what looked like a fight that was finally going to go Anything Okay's way is actually starting to get turned around once again in Le Seraphim's favor.
And more pushing in favor for the side of Le Seraphim. They are on to the second part of the bush. Anything Okay have got a huge gap to cover for, and there's only 3 minutes left onto the clock. They do have to change things up a little bit, be it the composition or maybe the way that they play. Le Seraphim has been onto their butts for the longest time ever, and Lumi has been quite a menace.
Oh, and speaking of a menace, Lumi taking two once again with their blade and helping Yoko be able to take out the third there. Bubble Kitty just going to be taken out on point, and now the minefields aren't going to stop this push bot.
Anything Okay kind of feels like as though that is kind of like a checkmate thing going on, right? They are picking Ayako up with the Lucio just to counter against the Dragon Blade. You know, sound barrier for a Dragon Blade, pretty fair, but they can't go for a double support ultimate just so that they will be able to counter Lumi, because they need the Suzu just so that they will be able to counter against the Rampage. Otherwise, it's just going to be a bigger menace. It's an either-or situation. Do or you don't.
Oh man, Soggy just going in again, causing so much havoc, forcing out a sound barrier from Ayoko just to try and keep the remaining players of Anything Okay alive. Rally has come out now in the spawn doors. Le Seraphim really just pumping up the damage. Yoko getting a couple of good picks, but CZWC taking one to their name as well. Bubble Kitty finally taking out Azalea here, and they might be able to finally stop this push from happening.
Finally take things back for themselves. The robot just immediately threaded backwards with 1 minute and 45 seconds left on the clock. With Soggy as well as Yoko both having got the Attack Visor as well as a Rampage available, while Anything Okay, the only thing that can really work with them is gonna be that Kitsune Rush. But at least CZWC got his minefield. At least that is a lot of zoning that they can work with to ensure that Yoko doesn't go out with a Rampage.
Oh man, and speaking of Rampage, there it is, right onto ZZWZ. Soggy now coming in from the back line to try and get the couple of picks with the Tac Visor. Just gets the one, but it's still going to be enough to be able to help finish off Ayako here, and that push bot going back to the spawn doors.
I don't think that INTOK have got much time left on the clock. With 1 minute left, and the only ultimate that they're gonna have to work with is going to be the Kitsune Rush. Perhaps to win a single round, but to endure another fight is gonna be really tough.
Yeah, and with this fight happening inside the sweet little alleyway here, it's not looking so good for anything okay. They need to get a couple of picks and quickly, and with Lumi taking out Vital like that, that's not a good start to this fight. There goes Bubble Kitty. Now it's just down to the tank and the supports, but with a Lumi blade as well. There goes the Kiriko trying to search for the Lucio. Unfortunately, the speed gets them away, but they're once again right back up to that front spawn.
I'll call that zoning. All they gotta do is just zone out their opponents and don't give them the chance to touch the robot to go into overtime. 15 seconds left. LetsPlay as well as INTOK. This upcoming fight is going to be the last.
There's the Deadeye with a Genji right in your face. It gets quite scary. You don't want to pop it and take yourself out. Oh, that's Suzu keeping Lumi alive. Soggy now taking down Bubble Kitty. No more DPS for this fight, so it's just down to, once again, the supports in the tank. Can they do enough to keep this fight going? Out comes a Coalescence. Paper Bag taken out. There goes Ayako, and that is match point.
I gotta say, the highlight of that game is not anything when it comes down to Dragon Blades or Rampage or Minefield. It's a small little change, or rather a small little play. Zizo with an immediate Suzu, somehow that is going to stick in my head for the longest time ever.
Oh man, what a fun match right there. Lumi doing a lot of work on that Genji once again. Both of the DPS really good at Genji, and that is going to be the win going to Le Seraphim. They won, and once again, 3-0 fashion. A little bit of a sort of habit today.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was some extra circumstances there for INTOK. Maybe they could have gotten a map had that not affected them, but I don't think you can really walk away from that one saying Le Seraphim was not the better team. So 3-0, they get the win, deserved, of course. They get the $2,000 on top of that as well. And of course, as we've said, they put their best foot forward for possible selection in the Singapore Overwatch World Cup team. Overall, though, yeah, 3-0s across the board today. Let's have a look at the results as well before we do say goodbye for tonight. We started off with the New Zealand Grand Final. South Auckland Drillers got the 3-0 there over Winton Overwatch. Siebes then picked up the 3-0 against Yena in the Australia Grand Final, and we've just seen the Singapore Grand Final go 3-0 the way of Le Seraphim. Overall, you know, some of those 3-0s were not the same as the others. I think you look at them all on paper, you think 3-0, really clean from every single team. But yeah, Nam put up a pretty decent fight. I thought INTOK put up a pretty decent fight as well. The only one which really felt like a massively one-sided game was pretty much, in my opinion, the New Zealand Grand Final. Opera, I mean, South Auckland Drillers 3-0 against Winton Overwatch. I think there was maybe like one round of control that felt like Winton Overwatch could win that, but everything else was the way of South Auckland Drillers.
100%.
Honestly, yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well, right? INTOK, they definitely could have come up on top, but regardless of all of that, Le Seraphim, they won this entire they won for the Singapore Regionals. They are getting themselves a guaranteed spot for the tryouts, not necessarily the World Cup. So there could still be a chance for the members from INTOK and perhaps all the other second place teams to still be picked up for the tryouts. I mean, take a look at them. Some of them, they are really high profile players too.
Yeah, that pretty much rounds us out for tonight. Opara, did you have anything you wanted to say before we said goodbye?
No, I think that's pretty much covered it. I guess congratulations to the teams that have won their $2,000 grand prize. Really exciting to see who gets to go through to be those representatives for each of these countries separately here. And good luck to the World Cup.
Yeah, indeed. And thank you guys for watching as well. If you've been here all night, appreciate you sticking around. Congrats again to South Auckland Drillers, Siebes and Le Seraphim for picking up the wins in their respective regions. I'll give a quick shout out to Samsung and Neon as well before we do say good night. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.